and welcome to Look for the Light, a podcast where we dive into the world of The Last of Us. I'm your host, Stuart Trainer, and I'm joined, as always, by someone who would absolutely press triangle to pet every single dog in the game. It's Jess Sterling. Jess, how you doing?
I'm already getting re-traumatized at having to play the game and kill dogs, which is usually on my content warning, trigger warning, no list. Anything including harm to animals, specifically dogs. But I made it through the game once. I made it through a rewatch of me playing it for the second time. I'm good. I can handle it.
So you're ready for your third playthrough, right?
No.
What? No?
If I ever do play this game again, which I probably eventually will, 100%, that is when the controller gets handed off to my husband and he plays through those parts and I close my eyes and maybe even leave the room.
Incredible. What other use is there for a husband other than just taking over video games when you don't want to play the bits, right?
Exactly. It's perfect. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, hello to the listeners. Hello, welcome. If you're new here, please do subscribe. It's massive and it helps us out hugely. But it also means that we arrive in your podcatchers every single week. So look for us at Look for Light Pod. Follow us on the social medias at Look for Light Pod there as well. And you can also email in any feedback at lookforlightpodcast@gmail.com. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a weird one, though, because we're going to be diving into The Last of Us Part 2, the video game, because we're in this little golden period of just waiting for season 2, which is dropping April 13th, of which the entirety of the plot is being game 2. For the most part, I think we're covering probably about halfway through the video game for this one. So we're going to be diving into the video game. So no spoiler section towards the end. This is the spoiler section. It's one whole podcast episode all about second game. So fair warning for anyone listening. Now is your chance to depart if you haven't played or don't want to be spoiled. But we're going to be diving into pretty much everything. I'm really excited for this. I adore this game.
I do too. I when I was streaming it back in the day, if you don't have to watch the you can. It's on YouTube at the Jess Sterling if you want to find it. I played through this game on live on Twitch and I really enjoyed it. I think I came away from the game having a greater appreciation for the morally gray characters that we are given. And yes, we love all of these characters and we equal parts kind of hate all of these characters simultaneously, and that's okay. But I remember coming away from the game being mechanically 10 out of 10 better than the original. Storytelling wise builds an even bigger world than we got in game 1, and it has it's very complex in terms of the amount of bobbing and weaving and flashing back and jumping from character to character. So I am so intrigued to see how this will be adapted, because there's a lot of opportunity for changes to be made in terms of the story structure. And so I'm really intrigued. And obviously, Stuart, we already have a little bit of an idea based on the trailers that have come out. But I'm really excited to talk about all of this because I think it's just such a good story. I mean, it's a tragic, really horrible, really great story.
Yeah, it's so strange to really kind of gush about it and be like, oh, it's just so wonderful. But it's also probably the saddest thing I've ever watched. There's just so much about it that is brutal and really kind of I feel emotionally drained. I feel exhausted after I've finished playing it. I played it through too many times, if I'm entirely honest. But every time I kind of just want to go back, relish the fact that the mechanics are just, they're so good. They're just, I think there are certain play styles that people can adapt to, and this is my play style. I love it so much. I love being sneaky. I love kind of scooting around and stuff. I also, who knew I really love just crawling around in grass? For me, that's one of my favorite mechanics that there is as well. Just being stealthy is just incredible. Can you tell I play a lot of rogues in games? Maybe.
Yeah.
But this game for me is always the one that I will turn back to because it's just reliable and there's just so much of a good challenge, but also the story is what keeps me going back, because I think every single time I play through there's some different perspective that I kind of latch on to. There's a different kind of like just thought on the morality of everything that I get into. And for me, that's the perfect piece of media. It's something that every time you kind of do watch it, rewatch it, you get something new from it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so interesting seeing a more grown-up version of Ellie and how her relationship with others around her has very much shifted since we last left her.
mhm.
And getting even though huge spoiler, I don't know what are you doing in here if you don't want to be spoiled? Having to see her go through this journey, the majority of which is without Joel, is just like you can see Joel in her as she continues
Yeah.
on her life, and for better and definitely for worse. And so yeah, while I it's devastating that we lose Joel so early. Hopefully through the show and much use of flashback, we'll get more Pedro Pascal and that slutty little knee of his. But which I don't know if you saw, and we'll talk about. We're gonna do a trailer breakdown next podcast. But my
Yes.
husband, of course, showed me a still frame from the trailer where it is the birthday celebration to the Dinosaur Museum, and the way he's standing, the way he's posing, he got that slutty little knee popped out.
Just a little slutty knee, just a
Slutty
little
knee.
slither of a slutty knee.
So no, I'm excited to talk it all through. It's very complicated, and I think it deserves a full dedicated podcast to it.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Let's not waste any more time then. There's a lot to cover. Let's jump right into it.
About what we were talking about earlier. I can't say I'd have done different. I'll take it to the grave if I have to.
So we pick up in March of 2038 because, of course, the games are set a bit further ahead than what we are. So obviously, it started out when it was released. That was when we jumped forward from, and it's been 4 years since the events of the first game and the first season. I imagine that it will have a kind of similar jump. And unlike the TV show, we get Joel confessing to Tommy what happened in Salt Lake and what is up with Ellie. He tells him about her immunity. We got this early in the TV show, a very good way of kind of like seeding in as to why it's so important for Tommy. And I think layering in that theme of making a better world for those that are going to come after you, especially what the changes with Tommy and jumping in with the fact that obviously he has a family he's going to be kind of supporting and stuff. But this was, I think, the perfect kind of intro because it offers a great way of flashing back to what happened, but then also setting up on a nice little horse ride, which was just stunning, right?
Yeah, it's it maybe provides some help in terms of mechanics as like a tutorial, but it's also just very beautiful to watch them, riding around on horseback in Jackson, Wyoming, and reestablishes like what's at stake, where we left off, why all of this is important, and it also, in case people are like, you're playing for the first time, you're like, oh, well now Tommy has this info. What does that mean? Like, does that mean that okay, so Joel has not said anything to Ellie? Uh who knows where their relationship stands? And also now we have another person who's clued in on this knowledge. And how will that affect things, right? Like if Joel dies, well, someone still has that information. It's not dying with Joel.
hmm Exactly. And I mean, Tommy being the bro it is, he'll take it to the grave. And we realize that we are opening in Jackson. They are exactly where they intended to be, and they are settled. Joel is going to visit Ellie in a flashback where Ellie's kind of seemingly got her own space in what seems to be a garage that she has taken up residence in. She's drawing. She seems happy. She seems content. Um, it's so strange getting these flashbacks that jump back and forth because it's hard to pinpoint exactly where we are picking back up. It seems to be that like Joel has a conversation with Tommy, And then we jump back a little bit, don't we? When Ellie's still young, she still has the bandage on her arm from the chemical burn from trying to get rid of the visibility of the bite marks from
Yeah.
her bites and stuff. So it's a jarring kind of start, really.
Yeah, and it's we see the guitar gift that
Mhm.
Joel gives her, which is just like, I mean, I'm so excited to see this on a television show. It is like one for one, this is, in my opinion, one of those scenes that you could pluck from the video game and keep it word for word, shot for shot for the
Yes.
show. Because this is the promise, right? Like, even though he's broken other promises of lying, this is the oh, I will teach you to play guitar. This is my gift to you. The gift of music, which I mean, I would not classify myself as like the biggest music buff in the world, certainly. However, I think in this world, in a post-apocalyptic world where you are like, I think you are striving to find creativity. You can't really watch movies. I suppose they have some DVD players and stuff, so maybe they can, but like, you don't have as easy of access to the arts as you do in the current world we're living in. And so music seems like such a good thing to have. And he teaches her to play guitar, and it's like very, very sweet.
Mhm.
I adore this scene.
Yeah. Um, Sadly, we don't get to hang in there for too long, as we do then jump back forward again 4 years, seemingly to what we are going to probably take to be the present day, and is going to be where we're kind of framing everything from this point on. And we see Ellie much older, a young woman at this point, which is so jarring because Ellie for the longest time has just been a little girl that like needs protecting, and seemingly she's doing security routes with a new character, Jesse. We love Jesse, do we not? Like Jesse's great.
Oh, he is an innocent baby child, okay? Like, he is the sweetest. I adore Jesse. Very excited to see the introduction to him on the television show. And
Mhm.
yeah, she's doing routes. This is like a thing now where they live in Jackson. Everyone has to pull their weight. We know this is a communist society, so everyone has different jobs they're assigned, and she has to be on patrol, and she does patrol with Jesse, who is, again, just the sweetest. He's the sweetest little
Mhm.
guy. Love him.
And then we get some of the more complexities of Jackson. Like we get to see Jackson properly for the first time in game. Obviously, we've had the privilege of being in Jackson in the TV show, but in the game, you literally get to walk around and you get to experience what it's like to kind of wander through and to see all of the different places that they have. And we head towards, I believe, it's the Tipsy Bison, which is the tavern that they've got. And Ellie is being kind of I guess not summoned of sorts, but like Maria wants to talk to her, and seemingly there's a barman called Seth who has an apology to make for
Yeah,
reasons
then
that we will come to discover. But yeah,
yeah, Ellie and Dina kissed last night. Dina is Jesse's ex-girlfriend. I feel like they have the story that a lot of people do, where you're a teenager, you're with someone for many, many years, and then you break things off because you're just not compatible anymore. As much as
hmm
you love their family, they grew up together. This is a small community. Everyone knows everyone. So it's a big deal. They're no longer together. And Ellie is like apologizing. Oh, Dina kissed me last night. Like it was a big thing, whatever. Like, I'm so
yeah,
sorry. Like, it's just Dina being Dina, is how like Ellie phrases it. Come to find out, no, Ellie has had a crush on Dina for a very long time. Um, and Seth the barman is a piece of shit.
yeah,
And he he's a homophobic, probably all of the isms, or ists, sexist, just give him every
yeah,
ist probably. And yeah, so Maria forced him to apologize, and I love that Ellie is like not giving it in. She's like, I don't give a single
yeah.
fuck about what Seth has to say. I don't want his homophobic sandwiches. Like, get
Bigot
out of here,
sandwiches.
Seth.
Yeah, yeah,
Bigot
yeah.
sandwiches. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Jesse, on the other hand, will quite freely take the bigot sandwiches because
Yeah.
it doesn't quite come with the sting of having the insult that it was last night. But yeah, Seth is just I think a great way of kind of framing that, yes, the real world problems still do affect Jackson. Yes, it's a bit of a utopia here, but it does still have issues and it isn't all peachy because if there isn't these like smaller things just grounding you in reality, it can kind of get a bit too kind of like a bit too nice and a bit too kind of safe, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seth, it's just even his like animation style. I don't know what it is about it. I just want to punch his face. Like he's just
Yeah, he's very hateable.
hmm And then we get them running through. They have the snowball fight when we finally get to meet Dina for the first
So
time.
pure.
It's again such a great intro scene of just a nice simple mechanic of just chucking snowballs at kids and creaming them as two young women would do against a bunch of like they're older than toddlers, but they're just little shits, right?
They're little kids, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is such a great introduction to Dina because we know Ellie to be extremely formidable, outspoken, like she doesn't take shit. And so
Yeah.
no, to pair her with someone, you have to pick someone who can hold her own against Ellie. And Dina is that person. Dina is also very outspoken. She's very fun. She's full of life. Like
Mhm.
she's a very rich character and I so for those who didn't watch me play through the game, I knew nothing jumping into game 2. I knew Laura Bailey would voice a character who ends up being Abby. And that was essentially all I knew. And
Wow.
so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, if Laura Bailey's going to voice a character and it's going to be Abby and Ellie, I'm sure they're showmance. I am shipping them so hard. That was what was going into my head going on. So in my opinion, Stuart, Dina then had a bigger job in that she had to win me over because
Mhm.
I love Laura Bailey. I'm a big fan of Critical Role. Absolutely love that little dice goblin. So I feel like for me to then get on board with a different character pairing up with Ellie, that character has to work like twice as hard almost to win me over. Dina did it immediately. I love Dina. Love her.
Dina's just fantastic and like such a great vessel to show how Ellie has changed from when she was younger as well. Because, like you say, Ellie was the wisecracker. Like she was the one that was like always giving sass to people and standing up to authority. And now we've got a very different Ellie. We've got Ellie that's been shaped by everything that's happened in Salt Lake with the hospital and the lie that she's been bearing with for all this time. And so now she is quiet. She seems to be a little sheepish. Like Jesse is kind of insulting her, and she's giving a little bit back to Jesse, but she's also like she isn't quite the kind of I wouldn't say she's as feisty as she is in the first game. And so I think
No.
Dina's a great way of illustrating that because Dina's the one that's kind of like pushing her buttons a little bit in certain areas, which is such a great way of showing it because not only to do it of like, oh, well, Ellie has fundamentally changed it to be quite a bad thing. You throw Dina in, and Dina is this just ray of light who is pushing the buttons in all the right ways.
Totally agree. And then you sit and you think of like, gosh, what did Ellie go through in game 1? And all the PTSD from the David stuff to obviously, I think a major point in like a noteworthy point in Ellie's life is Joel lying to her. And I think things
Hmm.
change from that moment on. She's not as young as she was. And I know that sounds silly. She's only like 18 versus 14, but the amount of traveling and what she's seen of the world and things she's been through have shaped her in a way that have roughed her up around the edges a little bit more. She's not like this wide-eyed kid experiencing the world for the first time anymore. And yeah, it's Dina is a really nice way to kind of breathe life back into Ellie in certain moments when otherwise she probably would be a bit more down.
I saw an armed patrol go from town to an outpost over there. A few more outposts in between. They have electricity, guns. It's a lot of people.
We can figure it out.
Okay. Assuming he's in there, how do we get to him?
We can corner one of the patrols and get confirmation, and then, I don't know, maybe find a way to lure him out.
Yeah, okay. Sure, they'll be happy to offer that information up.
Well, then we make them.
Do you hear yourself?
We then get our first introduction to a very important character. We finally meet Abby and the WLF, who have made their way towards a very snowy climate. We don't quite know that they're outside on the outskirts of Jackson just yet, but we soon come to realize it as we meet this mysterious group that we've never known before. And we come to realize in time why they're here. What was your thoughts when we first kind of jumped in with Abby? Like, because you were saying like you knew that Laura Bailey was voicing someone, so I'm guessing that after you heard the voice, you came to
I
realize
knew it was
who
Laura
it was.
Bailey immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Knew it was her. I was excited. I thought what was going to happen was Abby's group was going. I pitched it as a Romeo and Juliet, a modern day love story where they would be on opposite sides, which is true, of some sort of like war or like some sort of fighting, and then eventually they would come together. I did eventually. I think it was once I realized, okay, she doesn't like Joel. She doesn't like Tommy. I originally thought maybe they're going after Tommy. I thought Tommy was the one they were after, not Joel. And I thought I had pitched like, oh, well, maybe Abby is related to one of the nurses at the hospital because Laura Bailey voiced one of the nurses at the hospital. And I thought it would be a cute little tie-in. So that was where my mind was. Obviously, once Owen shows Abby Jackson from afar, I know that's Jackson. I figured that aspect out. And so it's like, okay, well, they'll bring these two together somehow, right? And it's not exactly what we got, but I would say, Stuart, right off the bat, even though Abby is a much more, she's muscly, she's still very blunt, just like Ellie. Like they are, there are a lot of parallels you can draw between the characters of Abby and Ellie, even from minute one. And so seeing her go off on her own, I was like, that tracks, right? Like Ellie would do something like that if she felt passionately about something. Take it into her own hands.
Yeah, feels passionate about something, feels ostracized from others around them as well. Certainly feels different. Ellie's immunity certainly is that for her. I think with Abby, obviously her trauma is what informs that for her. There's always this kind of like sense that she is like Owen is probably the one that she's fully closest to and understands her the most, which is why those two then kind of like go off together. However, she then has to branch away from him because she's got something that he doesn't quite understand, which is again a great way of like visualizing this into, and also a great way of tying in a tutorial mode effectively to show you the new mechanics of like squishing through little rocks and
dodging
crawling,
is my nightmare. Yeah, I can crawl and I can squeeze, but the dodging I never quite got the hang of. Great tutorial. The jumping also never got the hang of ever. So that was
I do remember a clip of you, and you took like, I think it was like a 50-meter run up for a jump, and I was just like, oh, Jess, sweet summer child.
There
Jess.
was a time where I knew what to do, and I'm like, I'm just gonna jump over this bomb real quick. Jumped on the bomb and instantly died. Had a good laugh about that. But yeah, it's seeing her then pursue something on her own in a very dangerous environment that maybe she's not super familiar with, in the cold, right? And seeing her kind of, I would say, whereas and obviously when you play the game, you get to choose how you play it. Do you go for the stealth maneuvers? Do you go for the stealth kills? Do you shoot bullets at everything, right? How are you approaching things? But I found even mechanically the game almost was like, okay, you're Abby, you're gonna punch the living shit out of some stuff. Okay, you're Ellie, you can stealth and stab and do all of those things. So it's almost like brute force is like immediately what comes to mind when you think of the character of Abby, and I don't think that changes very much throughout the game.
How did you find actually playing as a new character? Because obviously historically,
I was pissed.
Played as Joel and Ellie. Yeah,
I was pissed mostly because they took away all my stuff. You know, like I had a cool bow and arrow, I had some sick stuff. And they were like,
Mhm.
no, sorry, you don't have like anything. You got to start from scratch. And I didn't like that because I had all my favorite things and then they took them all away. I remember being especially annoyed about the bow and arrow stuff because I eventually got like a crossbow as Abby and I was very offended by it. So instead of a regular bow, which is obviously
It's
superior.
just a really like it's a quiet gun. Like it's just mechanically speaking because it's like you
Yeah.
point it, you shoot it, and it goes. I love the bow and arrow mechanics in this game specifically. The first game of when it first came out, it had this kind of like arcing guide that it would show you kind of where it would roughly land. Whereas in this one, it gives you the little is it a rectal, the like optical thing that you can see, and you get the
Mhm.
distance from there and how much you draw back on the trigger. It feels like as someone who like has done archery a fair bit, like it feels probably the closest that you can get with a controller as to what it would be like to draw a bow as well. And especially with some of the haptic feedback on like the controllers as well, you feel like attention to it. Oh, it's so satisfying. And especially when you get a headshot, it's like, oh yes, I'm so good.
Oh, the headshot with the bows are elite, elite.
Mhm.
Some of the other time, some of my time spent playing the game was also trying to figure out what WLF stood for because it wasn't
Yes.
immediately given to us. And I'm trying to remember some of the things I was coming up with, but they were all stupid. They were all dumb and made really no sense. But woke leftist fireflies was one of my
Woke leftist fireflies. I mean, that's probably one of the comments on Reddit, like having a go at this game,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah. But yeah, this is when we like Abby encounters a horde of infected, and luckily for who, I don't know.
Mm.
Tommy and Joel were there to help her, and she brings them back to this lodge where the rest of the WLF are staying, which we find out WLF is Washington Liberation Front, but they're also just colloquially known as the Wolves. A woo.
Yes. A woo.
A woo. That's what they do.
Yeah, we don't really understand why the WLF are there until, of course, introductions are made. Tommy, being a friendly guy that he is, offers his name first. No issue. Joel then says his, and so begins probably one of the most controversial scenes in all of
Ugh.
media. We get
Everyone
Abby
looks up
who-
simultaneously. And
Mm,
it was at that moment that I was like, oh no. Like you could see me on the playthrough being like, oh no, it's Joel. It is Joel. Everyone looks at him. They all know his name. And I had a pit in my stomach because I was like, this isn't good. Like someone who
no.
knows Joel, again, there's so many people he's pissed off over the years, right? Like even in his times pre-Ellie, he was way worse of a person. There's so many people who could be after Joel. So like anyone knowing his name just is so scary.
It's completely. And of course, they're outnumbered. And this is something that I don't think old school Joel ever would have entertained.
Yep.
Because he wouldn't have helped someone out there in the wild on his own. This shows that Joel has changed fundamentally. He's perhaps learned, maybe with age, maybe with Ellie's influence, of like helping people and knowing that there are things that can like kind of, I guess, come about from, extending love in small amounts, even for strangers. Like it can kind of benefit you. But in this case, old school Joel was right. Don't trust anyone.
Give a fake
And
name, Joel. Give a fake
oh,
name.
it's so tough to watch because, firstly, I mean, it's gruesome as anything. His knee is blown to bits. Tommy is hit over the head, knocked unconscious. Again, not my favorite trope in the game, but at least it took a hefty amount of hits, and Tommy does seem to be really kind of like it messed him up
Mhm.
a great deal. And yeah, we get them tying him up, holding him down. Joel gives the most badass line of just whatever rehearsed speech you've got, get her over with. Oh, just if you're gonna go out, like at least be a badass like that, I guess.
That's a way to go out. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so brutal because we just see Abby pick up a golf club. And at this point, if you're playing for the first time, you have no idea who Abby is, why Abby is after Joel. Like you really don't know. And I think this is when I was starting to guess, like, okay, maybe is she a daughter of one of the nurses? Like, are they related to those people somehow? I didn't yet know that it was her
You
father who was
coming
the
to
doctor.
that is so much more intuitive than most people playing, because I overall, like, most people didn't get it until the needle drops midway through the game and they kind of give you the reveal and stuff. Like, to even get a hint that it was Firefly related is something, because many people were just like thinking it was just something from his past.
It could
It was
be,
something
right?
to
Like,
do
and
with
it
like
easily
a
could
new
have been.
storyline. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was just, like, obviously trying to relate it to the first game. And so, yeah, then we see all that starting to happen, and we bounce back, to Ellie and Dina for a little levity here.
Oh, there we go.
You think it's still good?
Does weed go bad?
Let's find out.
Dina and Ellie are on patrol. They have like these really lovely moments of just like looking out at the skyline. They find Eugene's weed stash, which was I was tickled pink playing through the first time. I thought that was so funny. They get high. They have this very like heated, like, oh, how would you rate the kiss last night? Like so
Mhm.
teenagery. Two little
So
smitten
teenagery.
kittens.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
loved it.
Get over
Um,
yourselves, you absolute dweebs. Like,
they're
it's
so
just
cute.
it's so like cliche, but also just really kind of heartwarming
It's
in a
so
way.
cute. And then they have sex, which is great. Good for them. And this is when they open up to each other a little bit. And Ellie reveals to Dina that she's immune, but of course Dina's like, "Oh, come on. I told you a real thing. Like you're just
Mhm.
lying." And she doesn't believe her. She will later, but she doesn't yet. And this is just the beginning of their lovely romance.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole believability of the immunity thing, I was like, when Ellie first said it, I was like, "Oh gosh, like, is this going to be another thing that goes bad elsewhere?"
Yeah.
And then no, just Dina laughs it off because it is kind of absurd when you think about it. It's just like the one person you happen to shack up with, and the one settlement that happens to work, they just happen to be immune. I mean, it's how laws of like numbers work. Is that like eventually? I mean, probability is a thing, and like maybe you
Yeah.
do strike it lucky occasionally, but like the the way in which she kind of just brushed it off, I was like, oh, okay, that's strange, because it's almost like Ellie's free to say it even if it's a joke now, which is really strange, which kind of again lowers a barrier a bit, takes the pressure off of it a little bit, like that, I guess. But then Jesse, of all people, interrupts, which is so awkward, right? Imagine your ex just, not only catching you like shacking up with someone, slacking off work as well,
And
and then
it's your
he gets to
friend.
shout at you.
And it's all the mess and everything is all just fun and games until he reveals that, yeah, Tommy and Joel didn't make it to their like checkpoint to like hand
Mhm.
off. And of course, Ellie immediately is like, absolutely not. Like, we're going
Yeah.
after them. Something is wrong. This isn't normal. So they set off to find Tommy and Joel. And it's doesn't end well. It's just watching Ellie get like I remember playing as Ellie and I'm sneaking around the WLF cabin as
Mhm.
Joel is like getting tortured. And
You were
me,
trying to find stuff. You were like searching it,
nothing will
ransacking
stop
it.
me from looking for loot ever in any game. If there's loot, I will find it because it's hard. Oh, a girl just needs some ammunition. Like a girl needs a med kit. I gotta go hunting for it.
You're not wrong, and like, yeah, okay, fair point. But still, when I played it through, I was totally not in that vibe. I was like, I think maybe there was almost a slight meta to it. I was like, clearly there's this story. I'm very unlikely to get anything, so I was
Yeah.
like booking it to the noise, because I was like, not my pretend daddy, like,
Yeah.
how dare you? And then yeah, you make your way down that long staircase, open the door, and you see Joel getting absolutely battered.
What's going on?
Let him go.
Who is that?
Let him
She
go.
snuck in.
Why aren't you posted up outside?
We didn't think anyone was gonna show up.
What the hell did you expect? We gotta get out of here before the whole town's on top of us. You're done.
You want what I want, right?
End it. Now.
Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up. Please stop. Please don't do this. Joel, please get up.
Performance, I think, of a lifetime from Ashley Johnson here in terms of, like, from by all accounts, her voice was absolutely ruined after this because of like screaming for so long, crying after take of how many times they did it. There's from the Grounded 2 documentary where they talk about how they made the game. There's like a shot of Laura Bailey kind of like while they're filming it, and she's meant to be in Abby mode and she's sobbing because it's just so difficult to watch. This scene is one of the most divisive scenes there is. You get so many people that think that killing off Joel is a bad decision. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think this is probably one of the strongest inciting incident that you can have for anything. I think Joel has served his purpose and, of course, keeps fulfilling his purpose in flashbacks and the way in which this story plays out over this game. But I feel that this is just such a great way to end his story because of the choice that he made. I think it makes total sense and is absolutely necessary for this.
Actions have consequences, right? And like, I think expecting Joel to get to live a life similar to like a Bill and Frank is just unrealistic. Not only just because this world is so destructive and dangerous, but because of what he's done. There's bound to be someone out there with a bounty on him. It is just so unlikely that he will be able to live a long life. And I feel like it makes sense for the story, not only for this story of the cycle of revenge and just the parallels you can draw between all these characters, but also just to keep the story moving and to keep Ellie motivated. I think Joel's death, what more motivation would she have, right? Like that, it's necessary. As much as we all hate it, as much as it's not fun to watch, it like breaks your heart into pieces. And the idea of watching Pedro Pascal die is like extremely heartbreaking, but it's necessary. So I understand why they made this choice, as much as it like, you know, it sucks.
Yeah, it's so tough. And we get the extreme kind of reactions of like going from that very kind of visceral scene, we get a very tough emotional scene that follows afterwards. We get a full confirmation Joel is definitely dead. We see his gravestone. We see Ellie mourning by it. We see the flowers that have been laid outside of Joel's home. And I think this is probably the point in which I start to kind of just resent the Neil Druckmann and the makers of this game, because you get to walk around Joel's house and the environmental storytelling that you get with this is just stunning, because you see that Joel took up woodworking. He talked like a guy that went to the sheep farm, like he was clearly a ranch guy and stuff. He's got like pictures of horses all over the place.
Horses everywhere.
He's a manly cowboy man. Like he's a man of Texas. Like of course he's gonna have like horses everywhere.
It's giving Ken from Barbie, where he's just like obsessed with horses.
What's the house called? The
the
like
Mojo Dojo Casa house.
That's the one. Yeah, exactly. Not quite to that level, but like similar kind of like masculine elements that are all over the place. But the wood carving, the framed picture of him and Sarah that Ellie swiped when she was in there and gifted to Joel towards the end of the first game as well. We get his collection of records, we get guitars. we see that Joel has found time to live, and he hasn't been surviving just like he was previously. And I think
Yeah.
probably the saddest thing is that when Ellie goes into the cupboard and she just smells his jacket because she wants to like have that like she wants to smell him, finding the watch that's tucked away in a box alongside the revolver because he doesn't need them anymore. It's brutal. This for me is what kicked me off. Joel's death was something that was visceral and tough to watch, but I don't think it made me cry. This did. I was sobbing while I was walking around this place.
Yeah. It's because it's evidence of a life, right? It's not just that he was surviving at this point. He built a life. He built roots, which he didn't have previously. Like, maybe you could be like, well, he built a life in Boston. Did you see his apartment? Didn't look like it was decorated, if at all. Like he was living, but he was more just surviving. He wasn't living a life. And now there's evidence that a person lived here, that a father lived here, that someone who meant something to someone and had people that meant good things to him lived there. It's so brutal. Because it's especially brutal because it's after, right? It's after he's gone. And oftentimes, I don't know, part of me feels like this is kind of the way of the world sometimes. If you were to go into like I'm thinking even more removed than like your parents, right? Like go into like your grandparents' house. There's gonna be hidden treasures. There's gonna be things you didn't even notice before. But all of it just speaks to like this was a life. And it's gone. And it is heartbreaking because not just for us, but like we play as Ellie. So like we feel what she's feeling, you know? It's so brutal to lose Joel.
Maria, I'm headed to Seattle. I wish I could let it go, but I can't. I have to bring these people to justice. Ellie's gonna try to come after me, but stop her. Take her guns, lock up the horses, maybe lock her up. Buy me some time so I can end this. Love you always, Tommy. He's gonna get himself killed.
He should have taken me with him. You should have given us a group to go after those fuckers.
I wish I could.
You gonna try to lock me up?
I'd prefer that you stay.
That's not gonna fucking
I
happen.
prefer that you stay, but I know you better.
And then we find that Tommy, after Ellie putting pressure on Tommy, like shouting about Washington Liberation Front, they seem to have pieced together where this organization probably is from. Turns out that Tommy, in the the darkness of night, has skipped town and seems to be on his own little revenge tour, of which Maria is pissed about. She heads off to Joel's, finds you mid-morning session and has a chat and says, yeah, go get my it's like my dumbass husband, I think she refers to him at some point as.
Yeah. This is where I think we're gonna see some diversions from the game in the show. I just can't imagine they give Tommy a kid, which he doesn't have in the video game in the show. And I don't know how they justify Tommy leaving when he has a young kid to take care of. Like I just, especially without saying anything, especially just going, I don't see them doing that. I just don't think you can.
Yeah, I think I've got some theories on that based on the trailer, and we will, I think, dive into that into like big detail next pod. But certainly, I think with the mix up of roles in this, I think that there's certainly the patrol roles, that certainly seems to be kind of mixed up. And I think that should lend itself to that quite clearly. But it's a huge hurdle to overcome in the fact that they have given Tommy a kid. It's like, well, how do you justify this recklessness of going off?
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. But
I just think it would make watchers have less of an appreciation for Tommy if he did that.
Yeah.
That's what my concern is is like you get the judgment of how does he do that if he has a kid? What a jerk, you know? So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when the whole thing of like parental protection is very much meant to be like an absolute, is that like I would absolutely do what Joel did to protect my kids. Like it's meant to kind of evoke that like dangerousness of like that paternal love. How do you justify that theme if Tommy is then going to kind of fly in the face of it and kind of not protect his own? Maybe he feels that this is protection long term. Maybe he worries about them returning. I don't know, but we will certainly get into that. But Tommy, it seems, has run off to Seattle, which perfectly makes sense. Washington, right? And a fantastic setting to see the world as it has been reclaimed. We get Ellie and Dina riding on horseback, taking Shimmer, who we met previously, out towards the old Seattle QZ, or at least the ruins of it, as they kind of like pick through, finding clues, trying to breach through the walls. This was fantastic. Firstly, like once you breach the main QZ walls and you come into this open world area where you get to kind of explore different buildings and stuff. This for me this is why you, again, like sort of story is one thing to have another game, but with video games, and you get to build on mechanics, you get to build on kind of like what there is to play as. And we never really had an open world area in the first game. This one, it's not truly open world. It is just a pocket of little mini missions, but they're encapsulated in this kind of environment that you can go to in whatever order you like and do whatever you want to do in whatever order. And it's great to kind of just make you kind of really feel immersed into kind of what different places now look like. Now the apocalypse is in. You've got the courthouse, you've got the ruined bank, which is like under the crumbling remains of like the tall building that's collapsed on top of it, right? You've got the music shop.
Yeah.
We're getting that. We know that.
Yes, thank God. Thank God. Yeah, I think this is nice because it's less linear and more sandboxy for those who like that style of gameplay. And they also, while it is still sandboxy, they also give you like a little map. Because we are on the hunt for like gas to start a generator, they give you a little map of like, okay, I've been here. They say it might be here. So it's not completely open world sandboxed where it's like too much and overwhelming and you don't really have a direction to go in. But it is lovely because you get to explore. You get to explore this empty town. You mentioned the music store, which has just like the most beautiful scene. Where Ashley Johnson has to pretend like she's not an incredible singer, even though we all know she is. She could belt, you know, but she's not belting. She's doing it as Ellie would do. And yeah, we get Ellie singing to Dina on a guitar they find at the music store, and it is so beautiful. And the game, of course, like you start out by playing it yourself, and then the game kind of takes over because they're like, "All right, you suck. Like, come on now, stop it." And yeah, what is it? Take on Me, right? That's the song. It's a very, very slowed down version of Take on Me.
Yeah. Again, like these old classics of like the 80s coming back out, and of course these to them are songs that people would remember and come up with, and that's obviously what Joel has taught her as well. Again, like in the TV show, one of the tape decks is like it's take on, isn't it, a Heart and Etta James that I think it is that's in the TV show that she's got on the shelf, which kind of again is a nice little Easter egg for what we know is coming up as well, and explains why she knows it so well. But the I think what I like about this most is just the environmental storytelling, because you get into the room that's behind the groomers and you find that the origins almost of the WLF. You get one of these kind of like resistance outposts where they are printing flyers, propaganda, like kind of trying to sway people over what seemed to be this like anti-Fedra movement to liberate their own QZ. Obviously, we've seen that in the TV show with Kansas. We've understood that other QZs have fallen, but this one seems to be very much organized as opposed to the Kansas situation. This one seems to be very kind of like militia focused and very militant. And it's our first introduction as well. If you pick up the right things, first time you hear about Isaac, who is a very important character that later on in the game, but you get to see his mugshot all over the place because, of course, anyone that's looking to overthrow Fedra was likely going to be a bit of a criminal. It's going to be on wanted posters. So yeah, that's what I
Certainly.
really appreciated from this.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like I said, this game just shows us so much more of the world that they're all inhabiting, and so to have the WLF kind of be like the Fireflies, but way more militant and organized, and that we know they took over from Fedra. Again, we know based on our experience in game one, Fedra, generally speaking, Fedra wasn't great, like didn't help a ton of people. The WLF takes over from them, and it's like, okay, but then if they're a militant group, you're like, in the back of your mind, you're like, they probably weren't the best either. And like, based on a lot of the things that you pick up along the way, it sounds like much more of the same, right? Like one militant group took over for another, and they have very similar kind of outlook as Fedra does, with Isaac, like you said, in charge. And we'll talk about Isaac because woofkies, can't wait to see him portrayed on television.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm so glad that Jeffrey Wright is there, that's returning back
yes,
and reprising the same role, much like Mel
Marlene.
Dandridge with Marlene. Yeah,
It's
brilliant.
perfect too
I
because
love it.
he's incredible. Anyone who's seen, of course, first thing comes to mind is Westworld for me with Jeffrey Wright. He's outstanding. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. Obviously, we know he did it once, but I just mean like, reprising the role in physical form. I think he's going to be incredible.
Yeah. So we get a load of exploring, and then we come to probably the worst jump scare in the entire game as you hop over a little kind of barrier with Shimmer and a bomb goes off. This was tough because this begins first, I guess, of many what are animal deaths in this game, which is tough. Thankfully, this isn't one that you have to do as you're playing it, but it does happen in the cutscene. Mercifully, gets shot in the head, so it's over as quickly as possible, I guess. But Dina, you don't know where Dina is, and you are captured, and you awake, and the little shit who you sliced the face of when you came across Joel getting beaten up, he's there interrogating you, and you find yourself tied up in a school.
Didn't think I'd ever see you again. How'd you find us?
I asked about a dude with a bitch scar across his face.
It's funny. How many came with you? Just you two?
You can't stop this.
Dina, God bless her though, emerges through the ceiling glass and shoots down. She then falls down. It's a nightmare of a situation, and you have to cut yourself out and then stab the guy in the neck and then try and escape from school. This was, I think, the first real instance of showing Ellie being brutal in this pursuit. Like the close up of the stabbing into the neck and kind of the way in which she doesn't really recoil from what she's doing. Like she seems to almost relish it. It's like she's not smiling or anything, but she's just determined. And
there's no hesitation, right?
Yeah,
there's no second guessing. It is, I know who you are. I was there. I know what you did. No mercy at all. Not a question asked to this guy. Just instant death for him. And I think especially further propelled by the fact that Dina's in danger, right? You can almost read her mind of not again, not another person taken from me. And yeah, thank God they survive. She's able to stab him. They're able to get their things and kind of get out of there. And it's after this that they head to the Pinnacle Theater, right?
Yeah, so we run through the subway stuff first. We get the kind of I believe, because we get the flare.
This is the best where it's all red lighting. I can't wait to see this on TV.
So stunning. We're definitely getting that. We've seen that in the teaser trailer with the end kind of flare. I am So looking forward to it because cinematically it looks phenomenal. This entire like dark subway just lit up with these red flares of just like blood red. It's a theme that comes up later on with Nora and the emergency light in the hospital. I'm so looking forward to that so much.
I especially hope the TV characters take the same approach I did, which is I'm going to throw a brick or a bottle and get all the infected to just eat the other people, so I don't have to worry about it, and I'm gonna just run. This is the time where I take back. This is my only exception to the looting every single thing. Is nah. We just throw in a bottle and we running for it.
Yeah, you can't loot unless you survive, so you got to do that. But that is a particularly tough like sequence to get through, particularly because you are by the end of that whole scene, you're being pursued by infected, and in the process of trying to rescue Dina from being captured, your gas mask breaks, and Dina thinks that's it. It's over for you. Ellie pulls it off after Dina suggests sharing hers, and she says to her, No, I'm immune. And she really means it this time. And I think Dina believes it, although comes to question it a smidge later on. But this is like where the stakes are really kind of raised up at this point. They escape from there. They then finally do make their way to the Pinnacle Theatre. And then it's all cushy, right? Nothing bad happens. Like, we don't find anything out that's really bad news, right?
Ellie. I think I'm pregnant. What? Don't worry, it's not yours. What are we supposed to do now? Nothing. I just need to rest for a second. Are you fucking kidding? How long have you known? I was late a few weeks ago. A few weeks? We could have still turned back. I didn't know. I wasn't sure, okay? I didn't want to be a burden. Well, you're a burden now, aren't you?
Definitely not. Definitely weren't hints of Dina being pregnant when she threw up earlier, which I believe when I was streaming it, I had casually said, "Oh, Dina's throwing up. She's pregnant." Because anytime women throw up in media, they're pregnant. And Dina is pregnant, and that's not great. You're not allowed to be sick ever.
No.
This isn't great because now we have the push-pull of Ellie of, okay, well, Dina's pregnant. We can't go on this journey anymore. She has to go back to Jackson. Like, it's so unsafe for her to be out here. Not to mention even if she did want to fight, like, she's not at her best. She's throwing up. She's weak. Like, she's struggling. I'm not saying pregnant women are weak. I'm saying like she herself is very much struggling. And so Ellie doesn't want to put her in more danger. She wants her to return to Jackson. So, but then of course there's this vengeful mindset of no. Like, I need to finish the job I started. I need to take out all these people that killed Joel. So it's a crisis of conscience for her.
And it's tough because in a way, Ellie really kind of resents Dina in the moment. It's just like, this is going to compromise everything. Like, she's thinking like Joel would almost, in the kind of like of just survival. And that is like the singular focus. Like, there's no energy, there's no allowance for sentimentality in this whole pursuit because there is that kind of single-mindedness of it. And so the next day we find that Dina is certainly too unwell to continue on. So Ellie goes in pursuit of the kind of next few clues, follows the roots of everything. I believe we get the TV station where we get the first kind of exposure to the Seraphites, which is a kind of like a small light touch at first and slowly kind of ramps up through the game. Seraphites, obviously another faction within Seattle who worship a deity who is one of their own, who they've kind of like almost elevated up to deity status because of the words that they said, the prophet that they kind of all follow. Whose words, as with most religions, have been bastardized by prejudices and biases that people have. And they seem to be at war with the WLF. They are stringing them up. Their guts are hanging out everywhere. it's showing that this place is it's not just infected. It's not just a WLF when you find them. There's a third thing to be fearful of in this place. It's horrible.
And you don't want to get caught in the middle of some sort of a turf war. Like, you don't, they're not part of either the WLF or the Seraphites, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be shoot first, ask questions later 90% of the time. So there's not room to be like, oh, never mind, I'm not a part of this faction that you hate, especially when the Seraphites are like this very primitive, like, cult. It's if you view the WLF as like a militant, faction, the Seraphites, while organized, are much more primitive. They don't really use guns. They use mostly bow and arrows. They like communicate through whistling, which is horrifying, and I absolutely hated playing through that part. But yeah, they hear reports using this like radio that the WLF doesn't know they have. They hear reports of a trespasser, and they assume it's Tommy. So Ellie leaves Dina behind to go and see if she can find Tommy so that they can return to Jackson safe and sound. But turns out the trespasser isn't Tommy. It's Jesse, who, like, I mean, makes sense, right? Like, you didn't even invite me, guys. Why? If you would have asked, I would have come. But yeah, we get reunited with Jesse. And of course, the first thing on all of our minds is like, oh my God, Dina's pregnant and now Jesse's here. And
Yeah. We get Jesse off to like the Hillcrest as well, which is again one of the worst bits to play through. It's so tough because it's just, again, it's like it's sort of like a small little open world like level. It's not like very linear. There's
lot
not
of
one path. There's
homes.
many
Yeah.
paths, and you could like hide into little homes left and right, and there are dogs after you. It's tough. And what starts out as like, I'm going to be really stealthy, I'm going to like collect all these things, rapidly ramps up until they get into this huge set piece, which I don't know how they are even going to approach Hillcrest in the TV show. Like, I am really worried that I don't think that anything is really going to live up to the game with that, because it is such a huge piece. Because it's simple on paper. It's like, oh, it's just a pursuit through a very overgrown suburban area. So that's not too complex. But then you realize the scale of it. Like, you're talking about multiple houses, multiple extras, multiple kind of like people getting shot left and right.
And then the car chase too.
The
Like, there's
verticality of it. Yeah, the car chase that's involved as well, crashing into the water. There's just so much that goes on there. And I think, is it bookended with this? I think beforehand we get the museum scene as well. Which leads into this, if I believe right. I might be mixing things up here. We might be going a bit like kind of off kilter, but I believe the museum scene as well, the flashbacks with Joel.
It's post Pinnacle Theater, prior to Ellie leaving to go find Tommy, is when we get the 15th birthday with Joel going to the Dinosaur Museum and the Space Museum in Seattle.
Starting to sound like something.
Oh, I suck.
Nah. Just need to build up your calluses, that's all.
Yeah.
All right, come on.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
How happy were you with this, Jess, as a big fan of dinosaurs?
I recall, gosh, was it in game 1 or maybe it was even in game 2? Ellie mentions dinosaurs. No, it's in the DLC in game 1 when Riley has a gift for Ellie. I'm pretty sure Ellie asks if it's like a dinosaur or something. Dinosaurs get brought up at some point. And I recall saying, if there's dinosaurs, I will scream. Like, I will scream. For those who don't know, I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park. I adore dinosaurs. I just find them fascinating. And so coming upon the giant fossil statue in the front of the museum, I was tickled. I jumped off that thing, I don't know, a couple times at least. Like, you could climb it and jump off of it. And then you get, if they don't do the hat, Stuart, I will riot. I'm just letting you know that right now. Because there's this hat that you get at the very beginning of exploring the museum, and Ellie puts it on every single dinosaur. She like leaves it on them, and it's so funny. I loved it so much. And
Did you manage to get the hat onto Joel?
no, I really did try though.
Yeah,
I was chasing him.
There's a second one that's hidden around somewhere, and if you're already wearing one, then you can like force Joel to wear one as well, and it's fantastic. It's so
Incredible.
much fun. Like you feel like of all the achievements you can get in the game, like you can 100% get platinum, you can get all the Firefly tokens. I don't care. That's the one because honestly, it's so
Yeah.
much fun just to see Joel begrudgingly wear this cowboy hat.
And it's great because it's like it's not only a dinosaur museum, which again we know Ellie loves, but then there's also like a space aspect to it, which we also know Ellie loves. And like this is when he gifts her the tape deck that has the sound of like the moon landing.
Of the shuttle launch, yeah.
Sorry, the shuttle launch, yeah. It's so beautiful. It's just so thoughtful. Like it is so well planned out. And like this again, because we don't get much of Joel this game, but the small moments we do get are so meaningful. And getting to go back to a time where Ellie is just 15, she still obviously has witnessed so many atrocities, but like her and Joel, their relationship is okay at the moment. It's all just so wonderful, and I think it's the thing I'm most excited to be able to watch on this next season is that scene, the dinosaur scenes.
Yeah, I part of me, I've read some things about maybe they might be taking it in a more chronological order, which for the flashbacks, I'm not sure how they're going to weigh that up with that whole process. But part of me hopes that they maintain this confusion around Ellie and the way in which she is, and the way in which she is with Joel, because obviously we open with this pained experience of like kind of losing Joel, and then we come to see their relationship when we flash back to this being very, very good, because obviously Joel is gifting her something that's so incredibly thoughtful, which comes after the lie. So it looks as if Joel has done a decent effort of making amends and perhaps working on kind of just making the relationship better than what it is. And then after Hillcrest, we get another flashback, which is of Ellie being a little older, and we get her going out shooting with Tommy, and she seems to be really frosty with Joel. The two of them have there's like a hostility there, and you don't understand it at first. They go through the hotel, they are in pursuit of what seems to be guitar strings in a music store, and also clearing it out for this is their patrol. And they're seemingly training Ellie for taking this responsibility on. She seems to be thriving in this role as well. We also come to find that on this excursion that Joel has read the comics, if I remember rightly at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude's trying, but Ellie is still really hostile. And there's that question, why? Because they were so good in the last flashback. What has happened between then and now?
Yeah, there's breadcrumbs throughout about them. Maria says like cut Joel some slack, like he's trying, and like one of the first scenes of the game, like there's plenty of moments where you're like something is up between them, but you don't quite know. Like I feel like all of us probably were like it has to do with him lying to her about the hospital, but you don't know for sure, and you don't know how much she knows. Did Tommy slip up? Did Tommy accidentally say something? Like, what happened? Why is Ellie so hostile with Joel? And why does it feel like Joel is putting forward so much effort with Ellie to like make amends almost? It's really tough to watch because you're like, Joel is dead at this point. So you're like, please don't waste this time you have together, she's well within her right to be upset with him, but it's still really tough.
Yeah. And towards the end, we come to realize that the lie is percolating, that she cannot get over this. And we get him lying again. He like fully says, like full voice, there was no cure. And she just knows that he's lying every single time that he does. And it's horrible. It's so tough because then we kind of we get her flashing back to that post Hillcrest, post like reuniting with Jesse, and there being this awful kind of confusing dynamic because the baby daddy of the girl that you are in love with has turned up, and you're thankful that he's there because he's being a good friend, but he doesn't know the complexity of what's happening, and you're worried about her, you're worried about him, but equally you've got this singular focus on of finding who these people are, and yeah, you're working through it, but there's so many, and you don't have a lead on where she is specifically. It's the way this game layers all this together is just so perfect, because the whole time you're asking these questions, you're feeling these emotions, you have a sense of direction, you know what you're going on to do next, but you still feel lost, which is I think exactly what you're meant to be feeling, right?
Yeah, there's so much push and pull of like, I want to protect Dina, but also I want to avenge Joel's death. Like, but also I want to live my life. Like, but also Joel lied to me, so fuck him. Like, there's so many complicated emotions around it. And so getting Jesse to the theater, reuniting all three of them, and then saying, okay, we have a lead, that Nora, because now we have like these kind of Polaroid photos. We know we're able to identify everyone who was there the day Joel died, and Nora was one of them. And we know she's going to be at the hospital, Lake Hill, Seattle Hospital. And so Ellie says, okay, you stay here with Dina. I'm going to go on my own and figure this out, which I remember at the time being like, this is dumb. Like, Ellie, what are you doing? Why are you going on your own? Like, that just feels like so dangerous. But yeah, and this is, like you said, this is her first time encountering the Seraphites, who are terrifying, frankly. Like, I can't remember, is this the point? I believe this is the point where the new mechanic is introduced of they shoot arrows at you and you have to pull them out of your body.
Yep. Again, one of the best scenes of like you going into what seems to be a typical animation of just you hopping up and climbing up over like a little verge, and instead you take an arrow to the shoulder and that's lodged in there, and you've got to like pull it out, otherwise you're gonna bleed out. It's so tough, and as well, it's so much work went into the coding, I guess, behind the video game at this point of getting this lighting to work as good as it is, because it's this diffused, misty lighting, which is so difficult to kind of master, but fully makes you kind of feel like this is the kind of stuff like when people rag on at me because I'm like, I really like cold, drizzly weather, and this is for me perhaps one of the reasons why I love this game as well, because it's such a vibe in terms of the environment.
And it's very Seattle is the thing. Like, they're utilizing a place that exists in the real world, and that is very hilly, but also very like dreary and rainy and misty. And it makes sense. This is exactly what Seattle is like. So you have to kind of have the environmental impacts there, because it's hard to see these people. Like, I had to use that mechanic where you hold the button down and it shows you just like the outlines, the silhouettes of where everyone is, but they're whistling and they're trying to find you. It's terrifying, these freaking Seraphites. They're so scary.
And you get to crawl through all the vegetation and like hide, and you get to like be super sneaky, but they're super sneaky in return. It's not just you now. The humans, the AI is learning and it's knowing how to fight back at this point. And the Seraphites truly are scary, especially on like the harder difficulties where seemingly they come out of nowhere at you. And it's awful. But you make your way through this park. You head towards the hospital where you've caught wind that Nora is. I forget how you sneak into the hospital. I think, is it just you approach via water or something, or you find a verge into it or something?
I think is this the boat? Is this the boat, the little motorboat?
I think I think it's before the boat. I'm trying to remember. No, because you crawl through and you go through. Yeah, because you've got the scene where you have to take everyone out in stealth, where they are preparing all the evacuation, right? So you crawl through, make your way in that way. Sorry, yeah, I'm remembering now. And yeah, you get through all of these people that are preparing what seems to be like a moving out of the hospital, of like gaining supplies for something. Deal with them, make your way through the hospital, and eventually you find Nora. And what did you think about this, Jess? Because I thought this was, again, like we keep saying the word brutal, and I'm finding it tough to describe it as anything but this was possibly one of the most brutal things to experience as a player, right?
Where's Abby?
You're breathing spores. You're her.
You Firefly?
There are no fireflies anymore.
Where's Abby?
I'm fucking dead anyway. Why would I tell you anything?
Because I can make it quick. Or I can make it so much worse.
Yeah, I think this is the moment where we kind of see Ellie become who Joel was prior to meeting Ellie. She has one goal in mind, and she has blinders on to everything else. And when she corners Nora has been exposed to spores at this point. And we know Nora is not going to have a super long time to live, but Ellie is not going to make Nora's time left pleasant at all. She says, give me the information I want. Tell me where Abby is, or I'm going to like torture you. And we leave the scene knowing that she tortures Nora. Like, that's exactly what happens. We don't necessarily have to like play it out, but we know that's what Ellie does. And just by when Ellie returns to the theater to Dina and Jesse, the way she looks, her posture, everything about her just reads as, she's traumatized. And I think she is feeling what we assume, because both Abby and Ellie are the same in this way. They assume that going on this revenge tour, that getting the vengeance they seek will make them feel better. But it has the opposite effect. They feel worse. They're now traumatized. They have visions of what they've done to other people. Like, it's all so much. And no one has the answers for these people, right? Like no one could turn to Abby or Ellie and say, you know what you have to do to move on? It's just live your life. Just move on with your life. Just forget about it. Forgive them. There's just no world either one of those two characters are going to follow that, that advice. So it's really hard because I think at this point, oh no, you know what? This wasn't the turning point for me. It was a little bit later. We're getting really close to the turning point where I said, Ellie, this is like not the path anymore. Like this is really not the path anymore. I understand, but also this has to be the end. Like, you're going to kill yourself trying to do this. You're going to kill your friends trying to do this. So this was a stepping stone in that direction of like, enough is enough. But like, yeah, because there's a scene where she like even like takes her shirt off and you just see her entire back is covered in
that's
like
immediately following Nora, is that like she comes in trembling, and Jesse and Dina are like really taken aback by like how shell-shocked she almost is by the whole experience. And upstairs, like the shirt comes off and you see just the scars on Ellie's back. There's a fantastic shot just beforehand of like from the side where Ellie is just sat there kind of leaning in and trying to mentally process this with like grazes and bloods down her face, like a really grubby like shirt on as well. And you just see someone just like a shell of her former self. This was the young girl who used to read us puns. And now she's this. And she is destroying herself. This is a similar like evocative scene of like in movies where you see people affected by drugs and it's destroying their lives. This is exactly the same as that because she is destroying herself in the pursuit of revenge. And it's if the theme doesn't hit at this point, I think it's time to duck out and admit that this game isn't for you because I I think it's slapping you around the face with what this message is and what the cycle of violence is going to result in. This is not going to be a happy story in the slightest, but it's going to be a profound one.
Yeah.
It's just so tenderly done, and God bless Dina. Like, if it wasn't for Dina, like, imagine her doing this on her own. And then a most broken moment following Nora, we come to the realization that the lie had percolated so much that Ellie had made her way to Salt Lake City, made her way to the hospital, found a trove of evidence of like what they had been researching, found the room where the surgery was going to take place, and still there are blood stains on places. And she finds a Firefly bag with a little dictaphone, and she finds a parting message from someone explaining what happened.
I was one of the ones that wanted to go after the smuggler and the girl. They said, even if we found her or by some miracle found someone else that's immune, it made no difference. Because the only person who could develop a vaccine is dead.
Joel comes in pursuit of her, and the following day, I think it is, because I think there's like the change from night to day. And
yeah, she took off in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's playing concerned parent, knows exactly where she's gone to, shockingly. And she lets him have it, quite rightly. And he finally admits the truth.
It's so hard. It's so hard because I think knowing where Joel is coming from, like it's like when your parents make mistakes, it's really hard to watch because it's like, but you're the parent. You're supposed to be the one who knows everything and does everything correctly. And that's just not the case. There's no book that tells you how to handle this. There's no podcast. There's no advice column you can read that is like, how exactly do you handle your child being the one and only savior of this world, but also she got to die to do it? Like, there's no way beyond continuing to lie to her, which is a mistake, because if we believe Ellie can read Joel, then we should also believe that Joel can read Ellie and know that something is up and that she knows he's lying and just come forward with the truth. It's worse that she has to discover the truth on her own. You know, like if you had just said it, if you had just admitted what happened, maybe she'd understand a little bit more.
It would certainly have less impact in terms of like the lie being held for so long, for 4 years. Like, yeah, it wouldn't have driven her as, I think, as nuts as what it has. Like, it's clearly been bothering her for a long period of time.
So many people have died. You have
Mm-hmm.
to imagine in her mind, she's constantly thinking of all of these people who've gotten bitten or what have you, that wouldn't have had to have died if she had died instead and saved the world. And we don't know. We'll never know. Would a vaccine have worked? Like, would the doctors certainly think so. But yeah, Ellie even sees like scans of her own brain. Like, it's really brutal. And this, I'm scared and excited to see this at the scene on TV, because I do think it's in like incredibly capable hands between Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. But also it's gonna break my heart because we love these two. We don't want them to fight. And it's just like, but it's the scene that everyone had been waiting for since the end of game one, you know?
Yeah. And I think for me, the most brutal thing about it is that she's gone off in the middle of the night. She's gone to the hospital where all of this happened. She's clearly had time to look through, to work out exactly what has happened. I mean, the place is going to be riddled with bullet holes, right? Like, admittedly, he did say that Raiders did it and stuff like that, but there's surely got to be more evidence than that. Like, and the fact that still there's some Firefly stuff there. Like it's obvious that she knows the truth, and yet
Mhm.
still she has to compel him to tell the truth because it's not that she knows he's lied. Like there's I don't think there's a doubt in her mind that he's lying to her,
Mhm.
but it's the fact that he won't admit it. The fact that that barrier is still up and that they aren't being 100% truthful with each other. Like she told him about Riley. She bared her soul and told him everything that there was to tell him. And yet he still held that back because he still feels he's the protector. He still feels that he has to do that. And it's just horrible that she has to compel him to do so. And then when he
Mhm.
does, it just unleashes everything. Like it unleashes all the floodgates. She agrees to go back to Jackson with him, but they're done.
That was so
And
awful. You and me were done.
yeah.
And isn't this in, because correct me if I'm wrong, is Nora not the one that also like says like, oh, you know what he did or whatever? Like she makes an
Yeah.
insinuation like that is where we get the connective tissue of, oh, this group is from the hospital. Like these are old fireflies, you know. I don't
Mhm.
know that. I'm trying to remember. I don't think it's, we can all guess if we want, but like I don't think it was said until that moment with Nora.
And I think what's really telling about that is when Nora does say it, Ellie doesn't act surprised like she's just finding out new information,
Mhm.
which leads into of course because he's admitted it by that point. But I don't think that it would have ever have shocked Ellie in much the same way. Like she
Yeah.
acts more outraged and aghast that it's confirmed to be true rather than oh my god she did this, Joel. Like it's
Mhm.
still that. And it leads into day 3 in Seattle, which it feels like a long slog to get there, right? But you and Jesse you go out and you go in pursuit of the aquarium. Because you have the information from Nora as to where um
Yeah,
where
where Abby's
Abby
hiding out.
is, which means Nora. I mean, Nora gave up the information. Just
Yep.
you've only got to consider like what we didn't see on screen and what we were spared in order to get that information because Nora is a loyal friend, it seems,
Mhm.
really close to them. So they go in pursuit of Abby. They make their way through the shopping mall, I
Well,
believe.
they're going in
The
pursuit of
boat.
Tommy because
Oh, sorry, Tommy. Yes.
they think Tommy is going to be wherever Abby will be. So their
Yes.
goal is, well, depends on if you believe them.
Well,
Jesse's
yeah.
goal is to find Tommy and then all of them return to Jackson. Ellie is under the guise of that as her goal, but obviously with the second goal, the little subset goal of I want to kill Abby. And so when they
Mhm.
get to the aquarium and realize Tommy isn't there, it seems like he's somewhere else. This is the point where I was beginning, just the start of the frustration I had with Ellie, where Jesse says, we need to go save Abby. And Ellie is refusing because she so desperately wants to kill Abby. And I
Mhm.
was like, this is like, no, Ellie, this is a wrong decision. First of all, you're going on your own and you're leaving Jesse on his own to go find Tommy. And that should be your primary goal is saving Tommy if he's in trouble, not seeking out this vengeance on Abby. So this was the very beginning of me being a little frustrated with Ellie, as I think we're supposed to be.
Yeah, quite rightly. She sees the boat and she goes off on the boat, leading Jesse, I believe, to go towards the docks. I think is where they had the information of where the shooter was, which is what we'll come to later on when we find that Tommy's a bloody good sniper, right?
Mhm.
Annoyingly so.
Hey, he
But Ellie
bragged
goes.
about it in the first game or the first show
He
or the first season.
he
So,
did. It's just a shame that he wasn't actually bullshitting like we all thought he might have been.
mhm.
But we get Ellie going off on her own through the boat as a torrential downpour is beginning in Seattle. Cover of a big storm that will play into something that comes in later. We're going through the arcade, which is probably one of the most brutal playthroughs of like a mini boss battle as you go up against a bloater and you're trapped. That was tough to get through.
Mhm.
How do you feel about when you're pushing the cart and it falls through the floor? Like it's so cool, right?
They
I
had
loved
some
it.
really fun mechanics and like ways to shock you that you're not expecting based on having played game 1. And one of my other favorite little things they add is when you get to at a certain point, and forgive me, I do not remember when, you're at a crafting bench and someone comes up behind you and attacks you while you're crafting. And I'm like, what the hell? I thought the game was on pause while I did this. So little things like that are fun.
Oh, it's so wonderful how they kind of play with expectations. They did it in the first game with the ladder, obviously, in Ellie. They do it with like this cart that you're pushing, and yeah, the crafting table one is spectacular. I think it's so good. I don't think anyone doesn't appreciate it for just how like it's just a great like attention to detail to really kind of throw you into your focus is singularly on a desk. You are not going to be looking around for kind of risk at that point. Although I do like the people that have cheesed it somewhat, in that they know to put down a little proximity mine just before you go in. To
Yeah, well, those are the people who played the game before. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, eventually you get your way through this. You have an encounter with like the big monorail, is it? That's like half broken that you can climb, and the Seraphites and WLF fighting against each other that you can get involved in. But after all of that, you make your way to the aquarium. Finally. And when you get there, where's Abby? Doesn't seem to be here for some reason.
there.
No, instead
But you know
she's
who
playing
are?
a rowing couple, which is always fun to stumble across.
Hands up. Where's Abby?
You're that girl from Jackson.
Tell me where she went. How do we know you won't kill us?
Give her what she wants and we're dead.
You guys can survive this. I just need her.
Bullshit.
You. Come here.
Fucking get over here!
Point to where she is on this map. And then you. It better fucking match up.
Yeah.
You get Owen and Mel. She tries to do her best Joel once more. She tries to get the whole map information.
And Tommy did this too earlier in the game. They come upon 2 people dead, and they're like, "Oh, Tommy must have done this."
In the TV station, yeah. And it's like, oh no, in the Saravina Hotel, I think it is, yeah. And they get that, so that's like fresh in her mind as like an effective tactic. She tries it. Owen just lunges at her. They end up in a fight. He dies. Mel dies. And then the coat opens, and we realize that Mel is pregnant, and it's the thing that is needed to throw Ellie out of this obsession, to realize how far she's gone and how much she has destroyed not only her body, but also her mentality and her morality as well, in pursuit of this revenge. And it's the one thing that makes her completely, I guess, aghast at her own actions.
Yeah, I mean, especially given that she found out Dina was pregnant, like yesterday, like day before. Like it hasn't been very long, and so then to see a woman who, Ellie knows that she's probably part of the WLF, but certainly doesn't know her involvement. I mean, we know Mel is a medic, and Mel doesn't seem like a terrible person by all accounts that we've seen. She wasn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. She wasn't at Salt Lake City. So she wasn't involved in...
Mel was.
No, sorry. My apologies. She was at Salt Lake City. She is a member of the Salt Lake City crew. However, she was not involved in Joel's death, right? She wasn't there for that.
No, Mel was.
She was there.
So
Mel's she's just as guilty, I guess, in Ellie's mind. In my head, she wasn't there, but I can't remember why I thought that. But either way,
I think it's because Mel has this innocence to her, and that like
she's so kind, right? Like
she bears a real kind of like almost like a sense of being above it all. I guess like she seems like an innocent in the whole situation, but she's the one that tourniquets his leg. Like she's the one that Abby turns to in that moment. She jumps right in to do it.
You're right. Okay, so she was there. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the way I was looking at it is like as a medic, she just sees injured people.
Yes.
I don't think she is as involved and entrenched in like the ongoing war that is going on. And yeah, just seeing that she's killed this pregnant woman that she really doesn't know must be like devastating. And of course, this is when Jesse and Tommy arrive. And they help Ellie, they take her back to the theater, but they leave a little something behind that will come into play later. Yeah, the map.
Yeah.
Can't forget the
Yeah,
map.
we get them back to the theater. The vibes are better, almost seemingly immediately. There's a bit of joking between Tommy and Jesse about a gold bracelet and bribing Maria when they get back in terms of like currying favor back from her. Tommy goes off and we hear signs of something, a scuffle, an encounter as Tommy is clearly in danger. We rush to help him and bam, Jesse is shot in the face immediately, dies before you, and we finally get face to face Ellie and Abby.
Jesse, stand up! Hands in the air, I shoot this one too.
Don't you do it, Ellie. Get out of here.
Stand up, now!
Don't you fucking dare!
Shut the fuck up! Fuck. All right, stop! Stop! Toss your weapon. Toss your weapon! Fuck.
No.
I know why you killed Joel. He did what he did to save me. There is no cure because of me. I am the one that you want. Just let him go. You killed my friends. We let you both live. And you wasted it.
And we realize that Abby is on her own revenge hunt. That she knows that you've killed all of her friends. And her parting words are, "We let you live and you wasted it." And we close on this scene with her holding a gun towards Ellie, and we don't know where it ends up for quite some time.
Yeah. It's brutal. I mean, I knew Jesse wasn't making out of this game alive. Like I was like, he's an innocent, therefore he's a dead. Like there's no way he's going to survive. And he didn't, but it was still like extra brutal that he died after finding out Dina's pregnant and like, all of that, like their families are close. Like you can imagine the life they would have had in Jackson co-parenting this kid. But Abby, just as easily as Mel and Owen can die when you're playing as Ellie, Jesse is a casualty of war and Abby takes him out. And then Ellie is begging Abby, don't kill Tommy, kill me instead. And that's when, Abby turns the gun on Ellie. And then we freaking cut to a flashback and it's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like because I was pretty sure she wasn't going to kill Ellie. But then when you're back in flashback, you're like, oh my God, are we just going to build up all the way to this exact moment and the game ends by like Abby shooting Ellie in the face? Like it's possible. It's so brutal. Like, cause it's so quick. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, Jesse's dead. Tommy's in trouble. Ellie has a gun in her face. And then we cut away from that. And I know, Stuart, you and a lot of people were online were speculating that this is possibly where season 2 of The Last of Us will end.
Yes.
Because game 2 is going to be split into 2 parts for seasons.
Yeah. This is the prevailing theory. This is a natural kind of ending point. It ends on a decent cliffhanger. We are introduced just enough to Abby and the crew to like have some kind of thoughts and questions. But there are some shots in the trailer that kind of led me to believe that maybe they're going to tee a bit more up, and so that we won't have as many questions about what the WLF, or at least their group, are all about. If they do end it at this point, I think I'll be pleased, because I mean it means that we have had a very kind of like Ellie's revenge journey focus. I hope we see more of Abby than what we do in the game. Like I hope it gets a bit more of an even split, because I think that Abby is such a fascinating character, and I think it's it's great to have the whole day 1, 2, and 3 of Seattle from Ellie's perspective, and then replaying it as Abby's and having this concurrent story and kind of it's almost like a time travel movie where you go back and you see it from another perspective.
Right.
It's that kind of vibe, right? But I think for TV, blending them together a bit better might work a little better. At least that's my hope.
I agree with you mostly, and we can talk a bit about the fan reaction and all of that. I'm mostly concerned that if we don't get enough of Abby, people are going to hate her even more. Like, I
Yeah.
think being able to play the game, you finish the story and you know the reasons Abby has for doing what she does. You understand them, and she is more again with all the flashbacks she gets, which again happen later on, so we don't know if we'll see those. It really gives us a full picture of who Abby is and was prior to her father dying, right? Like she was much more happy-go-lucky back when her dad was still alive and they were looking for a cure, and then she becomes this almost like vengeful monster after he's taken away from her. And I worry that without the full scope of that, viewers might come to resent Abby focused episodes because we're not hanging out with Ellie and Joel, and people love Ellie and Joel, and they're like, but this is the Ellie and Joel show. Why am I watching Abby? So that's where my concern is. I agree with you. I hope we get, even if we have to kind of play around with the timeline of the show a bit, or the game, I should say, and like move things around. That's what adaptations are for. If we want to, if we want it to be successful, where we at least are connecting with Abby, we need to see more of Abby than we do in the first half of the game to do that. I think it works well in a video game because you can just keep playing. A TV show is different. Like there's a stopping point. There has to be a stopping point. So
Yeah.
if you're going to do this in 2 parts, I think they need to show us a little bit more of Abby, because it took me, talking about the way the game works is immediately after after Abby kills Jesse, we are cutting to a flashback of Abby on day 1 in Seattle, and we are forced to play as her. And that is so difficult because she has just killed Jesse, who is an innocent, who was an expecting father, who was seemingly a very kind person. And now I'm forced to play as her. I was really upset at first. And I think a similar sentiment could happen as a viewer. And I don't think we should have that, right? Like we should be like, fuck Abby for a little bit, bit. But I think we need to be able to see that there are parallels between her and Ellie sooner in the show, for I think for the mental health of all of us having to defend, for all of the Abby defenders in the world. I feel very I'm very scared knowing the amount of hate and vitriol that was thrown Laura Bailey's way. I'm a little nervous in terms of the cast getting more hate thrown their way.
Especially given that, I mean, like, not to be incredibly parasocial, but like I think she's been very kind of public about difficulties while filming The Last of Us. Is that Caitlin Dever, who's playing Abby, while kind of like filming, her mother, like I think it might have just been a bit before or during, her mother passed, and so she was contending with that alongside filming something that is a character that is burdening a great deal of grief over the loss of a parent, which must have been incredibly difficult. To couple that with potential fan backlash because they don't like what your character has done and the way in which the internet can operate, and knowing to what extent Laura Bailey got from this is just, I sincerely hope that it doesn't happen and that people approach this with more of an open mind to a story being told, and to not bring so much of the toxicity that was lauded over to Abby because of her appearance and a choice that was made over like a character and like how they should be presented. It is, yeah. I mean, if it happens, I think it will happen to some degree.
There's always going to be an asshole out there that has to spew hatred. Yeah.
I just hope that the more positive voices are so numerous that they massively outweigh it. Much in the same way as the people who kind of lauded onto episode 3 and episode 7 of season 1 of like the Bill and Frank and the Riley episodes. It's just making sure that we sing these episodes praises if they are good. Like, valid criticism is entirely allowable. You can say I didn't appreciate it because of reasons, but if those reasons are rooted in your own biases and your own prejudices, then they're not wanted, they're not needed, they're not necessary. So I hope that more positive voices and more constructive voices are certainly going to be heard. And I like to think that will be the case, because at least with it being out there, there isn't as much of the shock. A lot of the fan backlash, it's a really difficult one to thread, because Naughty Dog are not are not excused from the whole criticism, because they did set up fans to believe that Joel made it far further through this game than what was kind of intended from the trailers. Like the trailers, they spliced in Joel into Jesse's scene where Jesse catches you in Hillcrest, and fans working on timelines worked out that Joel would surely be around later on, and that you do interact with Ellie when she is older. And so there is this expectation, this, I guess, like hopes being kind of lifted up. And to have that be done, that was a poor choice. And so that led into a lot of, I guess, bad sentiment. But I think for the most part, it is a massive cop-out to just say that that is the reason behind a lot of the abuse that was lauded, because it was just...
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
It's all stuff that's like just so it's unnecessary. It's stupid. Like, I'm sorry. We're mad that Abby has muscles. Like, really. That's what we're mad about right now. We're mad about Abby's muscles. Abby's muscles are kick-ass. And I hate to break it to certain people in the world, but like there are so many different body types in this world. Like there's not just one that is acceptable, nor should there be. Abby and Ellie, while we can connect their stories in a lot of ways, physically, they're built differently. And that's okay. That's fine. Everything's going to be okay. And you know what else? I have news for you. Someone who's built like Ellie can be gay, and someone who's built like Abby can also be straight. Like, these are things that can happen. So it's just like, I just hope that we don't, I really want there to be balance in the story so that we get more of Abby in season 2 than we get of Abby in the beginning of game 2, because we can't just keep playing the video game. So I think if you want people to appreciate the Abby stories, and yes, we can say, oh, well, when you go back and you watch the full thing, you have the full context. Sure, of course, but it's still television. You're still making a season of TV, and a season of TV, Stuart, is usually a pretty self-contained story. So they need to find a way to make that work. It can't be as simple as the first game was, where the first game is the first season, and that's that. They have to make some choices here. And I mean, I think both of us agree, like, we trust them to make those decisions. You know, we have the creator involved. I feel like season 1 has proven that they're able to make really smart, intelligent decisions on how to adapt this video game, what to change, what not to change. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a smart spot to stop if that's where they choose season 2 of The Last of Us to end. With Abby holding Ellie at gunpoint. Hell of a cliffhanger for people who don't play the video game.
Massive, right? Yeah. I imagine like all the articles were like, oh, does she survive? And we're all just saying, we know.
Yeah. Come on now. Yeah.
Yeah. Blimey. So there is, I think at that point being kind of like a natural ending, there is still a massive amount of game left to cover. So I think let's blitz through it, I guess, and perhaps maybe we'll get into like in a bit more detail like another time. Who knows? But then we then pick up with Abby. We go through Abby, who is kind of, first off, we get the flashback of her and her dad. We get to meet Dr. Jerry Anderson. We come to have a kind of very giraffe-like moment, but with a zebra this time. Where you get
they manipulated me. And I will full on admit to it, because as I was playing as Abby when this whole zebra moment was happening, I was like, they better not involve the animals. They're trying to manipulate me. They're trying to make me like Abby, and it won't happen. They won't do it. It happened. But yeah, they save a zebra, and that's when they find out like, oh yeah, there's possibly a girl that's immune. We can do something with this. Everyone's all excited.
We
Yeah.
get them grappling with the morality of the situation. You get like a really awkward conversation with Jerry and with Marlene about like kind of whether it's right or wrong to do, and then Abby kind of like interrupting, bringing him food, and it just being such a pointed conversation. I kind of hope we get that in what may be season 3, if that does ever happen. And then we get this introduction, this like of Abby and her life. We get to see where the WLF are stationed
So
in one of the
cool.
coolest places, right? Like the
If they
stadium
don't do
is
this
so
in
good.
season 3, a stadium, I remember being like, this is so smart. There's so much space. They even have cattle. Like they have everything they could need. This home base of operations is so freaking cool. Like cattle, they have dogs, which I remember being like, and I hate this. Why are you doing this to me? Don't kill the dogs. They're just sweet baby angels. They don't deserve this.
We get to play ball with Alice.
I
You
know.
get to like you get
I
to
know.
throw a ball for a dog. Like yeah, the small little touches are so great.
Mhm.
We get Abby going out on a patrol with Mel, and them having a conversation when they're kind of like stuck on their own, kind of grappling through their complexities of their relationship being very strained. We come to find that Mel we knew this before, but we come to discover in this timeline at least that Mel is pregnant with Owen's child.
Yeah.
Owen, who Abby has some history with.
Yeah, they dated once upon a time back when her dad was still alive. And then after her dad's death, they are still together, but obviously things are strained. She really has a single, her mind is on one thing and one thing only, and that is vengeance for her father's death. And Owen, I think, would rather, not necessarily rather move on, but like, I think he has other things in mind. And Abby just can't get past it. They end things. And we get another flashback at the aquarium later on with where he set it up in like Christmas decor. It's so sweet for Mel for their 1-year anniversary. So we know that they've been dating for a year at this point now. So things are really awkward because I don't think Abby ever lost feelings for Owen. It was more just that she was so consumed with her grief and vengeance that she couldn't think anything else, couldn't think of anything else, couldn't focus on anything else.
We see exactly what is, I guess, foreshadowed for Ellie later on when we get the same thing effectively, when she has to go back after Abby after returning. It's so good. The parallels between these two characters, despite being kind of in some ways polar opposites, like they're polar opposites in gameplay style. Like Abby is a Joel gameplay style; she's strength based. Ellie is dex based, and thus like kind of is totally opposite. But they are so similar, and I think the reason why they are so similar is because everyone is so similar in that we are all subject to these emotions of just kind of like anger and like the sense of revenge for losing someone you love. And this is the overall arching theme of like love possessing you to do dangerous things in preservation of it, in pursuit of it, in protection of it. Like it's the way in which they level everything up is just so well done. The aquarium is such a great place as well, obviously, to
I
hide
can't
away
wait.
and have private conversations. I hope they do that justice.
They have to. The whale. Oh my god, the whale. Like it's so beautiful. I love the scene with Abby and Owen by like when they're talking about, was it sea lions doing the show or whatever? They're like out by the outdoor aquarium section. Yeah, they have a very complicated relationship together, and it's so interesting. And then Isaac. This motherfucker Isaac.
Ooh, Isaac's scary. Like so scary. Like we go through when after return with Mel, that we go through the WLF like encampment where they, or the FOB, isn't it? The
forward operating base is what they call it. And Yeah, Isaac wants the Salt Lake City crew, the Fireflies, who are originally from Salt Lake, who have now been ingratiated into the WLF, to attack Seraphite Island, which is where all the Seraphites are. Because again, they're constantly at war. We have this militia-based group, and then this kind of like primitive-based group. This is a primitive-based cult, almost with like religious overtones. And Abby doesn't want to do that because we find out Owen has been like ostracized by the WLF for standing up for a Seraphite. He didn't want to kill a Seraphite.
Seems to have gone rogue and seems to have attacked one of his own, and in their dying words, they divulged that Owen had killed or attempted to kill them at the time by protecting a Seraphite kid. So Abby, quite rightly concerned, goes looking for him, and in doing so gets captured by the Seraphites. Bertha, I believe you call her, Jess.
She's a monster. She's wielding a one-sided pickaxe, and I only have my fists, and I'm forced to dodge and dodge again, and I could not pick up the pattern, and I struggled so much in this section of the game.
Yeah. She knocks you out, and then you wake up as you're being dragged through a rainy environment that is lit only by firelight in a very kind of wilderness environment. This was the first thing of anything that we saw to do with this game, and there was so much speculation that this was Ellie's mother, perhaps. There was a lot of theories of that going around, and whether or not this was going to be like a flashback situation to things going on. But when it happened, obviously there was no clue as the events going on. It's like anything here is anything to do with The Last of Us, up until, of course, the gameplay takes over from the cutscene, and you hear the noise of the clickers as they kind of run into you, and you realize it is from The Last of Us. This whole scene is breathtakingly stunning for the lighting use of it, the fact that everything's kind of incredibly wet, so it just captures all the light as well. The ominousness of Abby being hanged, precariously balancing on a bucket as one of the Seraphites with like the braided hair comes up to her and starts to like go to slit open her stomach to like release her guts because she's nested with sin. And we get our introductions to Yara and Lev, who are phenomenal characters, are they not?
Such good additions, and makes me sad that we probably won't be seeing them this season. It'll be most likely a season 3 thing. Incredible characters. Yet again, I fear for the general public's opinions on them, but that we could table that for that's future me
season
problems.
3.
Yeah, that's future me problems. And she's rescued by Lev and Yara, who are two Seraphites that have been branded quote unquote apostates because Lev won't follow Seraphite traditions, aka Lev is trans. The Seraphites are assholes and don't like that. And so, and this is what always got me starting these games is I'm like, this is crazy that these people are like, let's put all our time and effort into hunting down one of our own because they simply don't want to believe what we believe anymore. Like it's nuts, but it's the truth. And Lev shaved his head, I believe, too, which was like a big no-no. And so luckily, so they're forced to watch Yara's one arm just get smashed. I think they say clipped her wings.
Clipped her
or something.
Wings. Oh, again, such a horrible way to refer to it.
And they break her arm, but luckily Abby, Lev, and Yara are able to escape and they work together. And I think this is the start of Abby's mindset changing. Just as we see Joel's mindset changes once he meets Ellie, so too we have Abby meeting Lev and Yara, but mostly Lev, kind of changing Abby's perspective and putting faces to these people. Like in war, everyone is faceless, right? Like you're shooting a gun at someone you've never met. You don't know their name. You don't know anything about them. You just know that's an enemy. I'm going to shoot them. Now we have faces and names and personalities to these people. And we realize, maybe not all Seraphites are awful human people. They're just trying to get by. They were born into this environment and they're trying to exist. And it's so beautiful. I love Lev and Yara so much. I love them so much.
I love the fact that, like, as you say, once Abby is introduced to Lev, there is that similarity with Joel in how the mannerisms changed and how, like, your perspective changes over, like, a period of time. And as well, like, it comes about in the same scenario. Like, Abby is in pursuit of Owen, who has gone missing. Joel was in pursuit of Tommy, who had gone missing.
Yep.
It's like, then like a kid who is younger, who needs your protection and guidance, turns up and shapes your worldview entirely. And I don't understand people who criticize this at this point, because I think the moment you meet Lev, you should have those thoughts appearing. But because of course, the loaded topic that is the fact that Lev is trans, it just, the narrative online completely got dominated by that, annoyingly. And it's like, why can we not have trans characters just existing? And for, like, yes, it's a point of the plot in terms of the Seraphiteness, but nothing to do with the relationship with Abby. It's never even a question of, like, Abby judging anyone over it. Like, even when Lev poses, like, the question to Abby of, like, do you want to talk about it? Abby's just like, no, like, it's just who you are. Like, there's nothing to really go into. And so it annoys the shit out of me. It really does, because
It's so frustrating
it gets
because
in the
you're
way of
yeah,
so much.
you're taking a viewpoint and adding it into a really beautiful story that is, it completely detracts from the entire freaking point of what they're trying to say here. And it really takes away from what is a beautiful story of friendship between Abby and Lev, and of survival and of camaraderie, right? Like, these people coming together with a common goal, which is, let's get the hell away from this group of people that's trying to kill us. And then in time, like, again, Lev and Yara are young. They're kids.
Yeah.
Like, they're like teenagers, you know, like, they need help. And Abby brings them back to the aquarium, or hides them away first, goes back to the aquarium to see if Mel and Owen are there, knowing that Yara is really injured. And Abby finds Owen a little drunk and talking of finding, the fireflies. There's rumors of a firefly base out in Santa Barbara. He wants to go there, being as how he's not a member of the WLF anymore. And it, they get into a little bit of an argument, I would say. And then they have sex, which I assume is the first time they've ever done that, considering it didn't seem like they did before. And then he was with Mel and got her pregnant. So also, Owen's a fucking asshole. I'm just going to say it. Because he is an asshole. And I felt that way when I played I was like, shut up, Owen. Shut up. You suck. I know he does a good thing. He does do a good thing. But that doesn't mean he's also not an asshole.
I mean, people are complex. Who does care? But, like, again, this is the whole thing of, like he is a Tommy role, is that he's the dreamer. Like, he is this aspirational hero. He wants to envisage a better world and stuff. But what does he really do to get that going forward? Like, Tommy is lucky that he stumbles upon Jackson and starts to do that. But again, like, his own complexities kind of shape that away from it. Owen is just, it's tough because he's not a bad person, but he's done some shitty choices, just like complex people do. And, like, to say that I think that he has a much more virtuous view of himself than what I think we all do. But yeah, he's a shitty guy. Like, sleeping with Abby, like, yeah, okay, get it. You're going through something, buddy, but, like, got someone pregnant and you're still with them and you still love them, apparently. But here you are knocking bones with Abby.
Yeah,
not good look, buddy. Not good look.
Not great.
Yeah.
So yeah, then this is when Abby goes and brings Lev and Yara back to the aquarium, where their dog Alice and Mel are located, and Mel talks about amputating Yara's arm, but unfortunately they're gonna need a lot of supplies to do that. So Abby and Lev are gonna make a really perilous, difficult trip to Lake Hill Seattle Hospital to get supplies. And we know that's where the WLF are stationed. So it's like, this isn't an easy ask. Like, this isn't an easy trip. It's not an easy thing to do. And that's where I think you really start to see, like, wow, okay, Abby is caring for someone other than herself and her like single goal in mind. Now she's diverted. Okay, we're not now solely hunting down someone. No, well, I'm going to save this kid who needs to be saved.
Yeah, it starts out as like a kind of like almost like I owe these kids, and then it slowly kind of evolves over time. We get our introduction to the bridge, the sky bridges. I don't know how they're ever going to approach this. Like, I mean, surely
it's a
all
tough
gonna be
ask
CG and stuff like that, but like, it's just such a cool idea. I don't know how the hell the WLF have never seen them before, because surely there must be days where it isn't misty. But
You'd think,
we gloss over that. Maybe it's only in certain territories or something. I don't know. Or maybe they think that they're something then they're not. I don't know. But the sky bridges are phenomenal. I don't know how they're going to do the whole falling through, and whether we get the traversal through the hotel as well, where we find the wall stalkers, who are my favorite, but also least favorite monsters.
No, I hate them. I hate them.
They're awful, but they're so cool.
They're really cool, but it's really rude of the game.
Really,
frankly, it's rude.
Hey, they give you a flamethrower at that point.
Thank God.
The flamethrower is fun. Like,
I love it.
It looks a little sci-fi. I don't know why. Like the weird cartridgey thing about it. I don't know. It's very kind of strange, but satisfying. I will say that. But yeah, we get to the hotel. Abby gets captured because she's gone AWOL, and going AWOL is not tolerated by Isaac, given everything that they have planned. And so she gets locked up. But she gets released by Nora. Nora in her last act, which is so wild because obviously, does it mean then that Nora gave false information to Ellie in the confession? Because technically, Nora's last known location of Abby is in the hospital.
Sure, but I do think like she knew where she was based out of, which was the aquarium.
True, yeah.
Right?
Probably headed that, yeah.
Yeah.
But we get to traverse through the hospital, trying to find some supplies, which are low. So we have to go into the lower levels, which are blocked off because they are infected down there. And we come across the coolest monster ever. Did you know anything about the Rat King when you played through first time? Incredible.
No,
I'm so happy.
Knew nothing, and I was terrified. I actually think I don't remember 100%, but I think I did a decent job against the Rat King when I played. I thought it was so cool. It was terrifying because you're running, you have to like jump over things, you have to hide behind. It's really difficult, but so fun. And I really hope. I mean, I wasn't disappointed by the bloater that we got in season 1, so I hope I'm not disappointed by the Rat King that we'll get presumably in season 3. Yeah, it's so fun. It's so cool. This is the kind of stuff that like get the prosthetic people in, get the special effects people in, like go all out, please.
Yeah, I can imagine they're going to really do this scene justice. Like Craig Mason with Chernobyl, there's the phenomenal scene where they send the first people in the suits that go into the water to like with the Geiger counters, and it's dark and flickering lights. I can just imagine that vibe. But with this, my expectations are very high for that when it does come about. Alas, we will have to probably wait some time, as that is almost certainly going to be season 3. So that's coming up. But the Rat King was such a wild encounter. I had no idea when I played that it was coming up as well. Lost my mind. More so when bits started like crawling off of it and you had multiple enemies. I was like,
so good.
It's such a typical DM just ramping up the stakes of a D&D encounter, right?
Yep.
Just throwing in more minions.
Yep. Big D&D vibes.
So good.
Yeah.
But we get the supplies, we reunite with Lev, and then you get back, and the surgery goes well because Mel is very well trained. apprentice of Dr. Jerry Anderson, who we know to be a very effective surgeon. So that works out, I guess. Thankfully, Yara's arm is, well, not the arm is saved, but
the life is
Yara
saved.
is
Yeah.
saved.
And
Exactly,
meanwhile, Abby and Lev have been bonding while they've been traveling to and from the hospital. But in the downtime of, okay, now I know Yara is fine, Lev leaves and goes back to Seraphite Island to go back to his mother. But Lev is, so I believe, right, the birth order is Yara is older than Lev, right? Yara is the older sibling. Yara knows that their mom is not going to like help Lev, like not going to help Lev hide, is going to turn Lev in and probably will kill Lev because of because Lev is trans. Like truly, that's what it is. It is, you are going against our beliefs, you will die. And so Abby and Yara make the decision to go and try to rescue him. Yet again, like this was another moment where I was like, oh shit, like Abby, okay, she's doing something else. She's doing something extremely selfless to help people that she barely knows. Like now she knows them more intimately. You know, they spent time together, they've bonded a bit, but it has not been very long. Like in terms of days, not been very long.
Not at all. And we get this incredible scene where you are trying to get towards the boats to be able to get to Seraphite Island, and you leave Yara because Yara obviously is unable to climb like the ladders that you need to do because there's a lot of verticality in the levels of everything. So you end up on your own, and you meet back up with Manny as you're pinned down by a sniper. Who could this be? Who's been bragging about sniping all the time that you ever talk to them? You go up against Tommy effectively, and Tommy's a shitbag with that sniper. Like, I hated this. I mean, I kind of liked it because whenever
it's
you
really
see
hard,
flash, you know, to get behind, but it's incredibly hard. Great use of the environment in terms of like being able to block and get through as well. But you and Manny press on through. You go in pursuit of Tommy. You start chasing him down, and Manny dies, takes a bullet to the face right in front of you. His blood is on your face as you're like trying to I guess like process what's happened while also trying to get into safety from this killer that is seemingly pursuing you. You don't know who it is. And then we have a skirmish. We come face to face with Tommy and we brute force him through the wooden kind of like barriers. He gets thrown into the water. Wild. I didn't expect Tommy to appear at that point, even when it was like the sniper as well. I was so engrossed in the fact that I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. I didn't think it was Tommy until Tommy turned up, and I was like, I'm such an idiot.
Yeah, and Manny is killed, but Abby lives, and so does Yara. And Tommy is a question mark at this point. Obviously, we know he lives, but they don't know that. And so they're like, okay, let's continue. We got to go to the island, which they do get there before Isaac and the WLF, because remember, there were plans to invade. Unfortunately, we come upon, just, again, brutal is the word. Lev has killed his mother in self-defense. And it is like really sad. It's so tragic. It's so tough. Like, this is a kid. This is a kid. This is a parent who should be protecting that kid. And they're not. In fact, they're really harming them because of these fanatical beliefs, these religious beliefs. And it's so hard. And just as you're trying to get out, you're trying to like, okay, we got to go. The WLF are coming. Like, Isaac is coming. We got it. We don't have time. We got to go. We got to go. Yara sacrifices herself. And like, it is so hard because you've come to love this character, you know, like you love Yara, you love Lev, you want them both to live, you want everyone to be a happy little family. But in order to allow Lev and Abby to escape, Yara kills Isaac, but also herself is going to get killed.
It's so rough because firstly, I mean, Yara has such a a heroic moment in being the one to rescue you from that situation with Isaac. And to use that last bit of breath to make sure that you've got an opportunity to get to safety and also to kill that motherfucker. Like, he's a dirtbag as well. So it's tough to see Yara go, but boy, does she go out with a bang. No pun intended. And you then come through all of this after all of the emotional journey with Lev, and you get Lev, who quite rightly is so furious with the WLF, is acting out, and you get the turn. You get Abby saying, "They're not my people, you're my people," which is, for an Abby that a couple of days ago certainly wouldn't have said that, because she's gone through so much, what with Owen, with the everything that's been processed, with taking Lev on, taking Yara on. Her world perspective has fully changed, and I think she's come to a realization of being shamed by Mel for being a shitty person and wanting to choose better for herself. And she is, in this moment, choosing to do better for herself. And she doesn't have to be defined by other people's judgments. She doesn't have to be defined by Owen's virtues of what he wants to go and do. She doesn't have to be defined by Mel and what shame she's projecting onto Abby for like choices she's made in the past. She's got choices of her own to make, and she's making them now, which is fantastic to see. I love this. I think Laura Bailey again did a really great voice acting job of that particular line, of just really kind of making it feel almost as if it's not even something like thought of or conscious. It feels like reactionary, of just like, no, you're my people. Like it just comes out so naturally, right?
Yeah, and it's so lovely because you can see Abby transforming, but it's hard to change so much so quickly and not revert back to some old bad habits or old ways of thinking, because when they return to the aquarium finally, Alice, Mel, and Owen are all dead, and of course Abby is sick with I'm sure she has some guilt in terms of, oh, I left them, but also just like she knows who's responsible, and they find the map that Ellie left behind. And so this makes sense, right? It's like when people go on like Survivor and they're like, my whole life has changed, my life philosophy is different, and then they return home and they're like eating, Krispy Kremes on the couch again. Like, she's gonna go back to her old ways. Like, she can't
Sue's
help
face
it.
is still dirty. I refuse to believe otherwise. Like,
Still dirty. And so yeah, she goes. Then we are brought right back to her at the theater with Ellie, holding Ellie at gunpoint. And yeah, it's really hard to see Abby go from being like, "You're my people, we're good," to then, wait, what about? Okay, I gotta go kill Ellie. It's really, really hard to watch because you want more for her. You want her to. You just want the end of cycle, man. You just want it to be over. I just want like one of them to give up, but they won't.
It speaks to the way in which revenge is going to absolutely dominate even the most logical of thought processes. Is that like it's what is driving that revenge? It's love. Like, she loves her friends, even though like her relationship with Owen and Mel especially is strained at best, but she's witnessed like her roommate Manny like die before her, and then she finds out that her former lover and the girl that he knocked up is dead as well. Like, it's so much to process, and so of course the instinctive reaction is to go for revenge. She goes in pursuit. We catch up to where we were, and then we have one of the worst, I think, experiences of gameplay where you still play as Abby and you have to attack Ellie. This was controversial. A lot of people hated this. I didn't mind it too much, except for the fact that Ellie is horrible to play against because she is so sneaky, and it's tough to pin her down. I didn't mind it because, I don't know, I find myself not being too resistant to what they throw out there. I tend to go along with it and make my judgments after the fact. Were you okay with it? I can't remember if you disliked it or not.
I found it extremely difficult, and that's probably like, if I disliked it at all, it wasn't from a storytelling perspective or mechanics perspective. It was mostly because it was really hard. I
Yeah.
think I I don't know. I don't even know if I would use again the word dislike, but I struggled with it more so later on, when they're on when they're with the rattlers and like that they have
Mhm.
the confrontation then, because
Yeah.
you're still Ellie in that point, but I didn't want to fight her anymore. Like I truly was like, Ellie, stop. Like, can I choose not to do this? Like the game
Yeah.
doesn't let you. That was more when I was struggling than this, but I struggled in terms of, yeah, Ellie is freaking hard. Like Ellie is she's trained for this. Like this is not
Mhm.
an easy fight. And yeah, like yet again, Abby leaves Ellie alive. She's just like, because she's gonna kill Dina. Like she's gonna kill Dina, and that would have killed Ellie. Like, come on now. Like we can't be killing everybody.
But if it wasn't for Lev, I think she might have.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
I mean, she would have killed Dina at the very least. So like the scene ends with Dina interrupting this, trying to defend Ellie, like slashing with a blade, which cuts up like Abby's arms. Abby gets the better of Dina, smashes her head into the ground, takes a knife to
Mhm.
the throat, and if it Ellie is there pleading, bloodied mess, and just says she's pregnant, and Abby says, "Good." And this is not Abby thinking or talking. This is
Mhm.
something else. This is revenge that is like possessed her almost. And it takes Lev to jump in and to just almost like offer that bit of sobering reality as
Yeah.
well. That's just absolutely necessary. And it pulls Abby out of this. And it's so great to demonstrate that is what this role does. It's exactly what Ellie did with Joel, is that she pulled him out of that mindset. Admittedly, Joel's was more like ingrained and it was more apparent, but like it was almost like revenge against the world that he was seeking,
Yeah.
right? And in the short term, Abby is seeking revenge for this horror that she's going through and is
Yeah.
pulled out of it by someone who is going to become much nearer and dearer to them. Tough watch, right? Like
Yeah, it's really brutal. Like it's so many people are at risk, and then just watching someone not being able to stop themselves, both Abby and Ellie, like they just can't
Mhm.
stop. And having Lev walk in and talk Ellie or talk Abby out of killing Dina, um we all hope like, okay, Abby, like Abby and Ellie, like you're done, right? This is the truce that we needed. This is it. But it's not it.
Mhm.
It's not it. And the fact that we then I think I was shocked at the time that we like are jumping forward again. Like we jump forward a whole
Yeah.
year in time where Ellie and Dina are now in Jackson. They live on a farm, which is so perfect.
A sheep
And
farm.
a sheep farm. The Dina has given birth to a son, JJ, but Ellie still has really bad PTSD. And it's obvious that Tommy hasn't given up on this either, because he's the one who
Mhm.
gives Ellie the info about Abby and Lev being in Santa Barbara.
Yeah. And Ellie seemingly, at least initially, says no. Is kind of, I think, is traumatized enough to know that it's not a good thing to do, it isn't necessary. Tommy goes off on one a bit,
Mhm.
ends up leaving. Dina goes after him, shouts at him as, oh, Dina's just the best. I'm gonna continually
Mhm.
say it, but like when Dina goes out and goes to like tell him off for it and not to bring that to their home is just such a great touch. But the thought percolates for a long time and just that festers to the point where she can't let go, and she goes in pursuit of it. And the scene where in the middle of the night you're getting ready to leave and then Dina catches you almost sneaking out in the middle of the night and just goes, just
Mhm.
go to bed, just go to bed, we don't have to talk about it now, just come back to bed. And Ellie just says no, she can't, because she can't live like this. She has to find some finality, some conclusion. She
Mhm.
has to bring about her peace in some way, and violence is the only way that she knows how to do it. She doesn't articulate it as such, but I mean, we all know it, right?
Mhm.
It's again, like it's the more emotional scenes that I think are tougher because, like, yeah, you can have gruesome stuff, you can have violence, you can have really kind of like horrible deaths. But I think when you've got someone that's just pleading with you to come back to bed
Yeah.
and you can't because you're so traumatized that you can't live,
Yeah.
there's no easy choice.
She's just broken. She's so broken. And I think a part of her is like, why do I get to live this life? Like, why do I get to live with Dina and JJ on this farm and like have all this beautiful stuff when I've hurt people? I could have cured the world. I think that is still percolating in her mind.
Gosh, yes.
And like, she just can't let it go. And again, we saw Joel, like, we didn't see all of it because we are 20 years post outbreak day, but Joel goes through something similar after he loses Sarah. He is set on burning down the world around him. Like, it's so destructive. And Ellie has the same destructive streak. And to leave Dina is like such a choice. Like, you are leaving a happy life to pursue something that is only going to bring you more pain and bring others more pain, bring Dina pain because you're leaving her, bring JJ pain. Like, all of these things are true. And it's just, yeah, it's really hard to watch Ellie walk away from Dina when we know Dina loves her, and she just wants to be there for her.
But alas, it's not enough. She does go off, and we find that Abby and Lev have moved on. I say moved on. They're in Santa Barbara in search of the Fireflies. So they haven't. Abby hasn't quite moved on fully, but she's going back to what is a new start with the Fireflies, perhaps, and to go back to what is familiar. They're in search of this secret Firefly base that has been rumored to be out here. And they get captured by the Rattlers, who are a group of slave owners. One of them, I can't not mention this. One of them punches Lev, and it's the funniest animation. I don't know why. It's just Lev eats shit. It's just so brutal.
I thought you were going to bring up that one of them looks like Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri, yes, does, voiced by Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey's husband, which is hilarious as well.
Incredible.
They capture them, and we cut away from that, and we catch up with Ellie, who has found the boat that Tommy referenced before, of where they were living, and goes searching for them. And we get this third act of Ellie going through California, going through these kind of like large homes that are full of infected, and going in pursuit of them. Comes across a trap, gets pulled up by it, ends up stabbing herself on a tree branch as it happens, passes out, and then the Rattlers, who had previously captured Lev and Abby, come across Ellie. This scene is so, I love it when Ellie leverages her immunity in her benefit, right? It's so good. It's like, I don't like it when it's constantly like a thing to fear and a weakness. Like, she should take advantage of it. She is a superhero in this world in a way.
Yeah, she gets bit by a I think it's a clicker, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna die soon," and she's like, "Okay, so give me the information then. Like, let me know where Abby and Lev are." And the guy does. She immediately kills the guy, and I love the move of where one guy almost gets bit by one, and he's like, almost died.
Really fearful.
And then she's like, "Yep, here he goes," pushes him right into the clicker, and he gets his whole face eaten off. It's great.
So good. And then she goes on a rampage, goes through the entire Rattlers camp. This is kind of a fun scene to play through. Like, it's just relentless. You go through, you blitz your way through. And it's towards the end where you realize that you release a bunch of people who are held in a cage. And they tell you that Abby is what they call it, the what they call it, they're actually propped up on. I think it's just referred to the beach or something, but it's something else. But yeah, they tell them to go to pursuit of the beach to find where Abby is, and you find that Abby and Lev and others are all strung up, and you see Abby for the first time in 2 years, and she is thin. Her hair has been cut, and she quite clearly has been the subject of slavers.
Mm-hmm. And
This
Ellie still
is
can't
tough.
help herself, right? Like it's so brutal to watch because this is where I was most frustrated with Ellie is when she frees Abby and Lev and threatens to kill Lev if Abby doesn't fight her because Abby doesn't want to fight anymore.
Mhm.
Like she is exhausted. She's malnourished. She's been tortured. She doesn't want to. She doesn't have the fight in her anymore. But of course, Ellie's going to threaten Lev, which will get Abby to fight her. And then she Abby bites off her fingers. Like it's so. Oh my god. Like I didn't want to be Ellie fighting at that moment. Like I wanted her to stop. Like I was so just done with it. Because of just how bad Abby looks. It's like, good God, she doesn't have any fight in her. This is
Mhm.
this isn't balanced. You're not going to get anything out of this. It's not going to feel satisfying at all.
Yeah. It's such a tough scene because I think you as the player that hesitance, that reluctance to actually play it is intentional because I don't think Ellie wants to do it at all. She's being forced to by this need for revenge, this cycle of violence that she's stuck in, and she's almost on autopilot. And it's brutal in the fact that she is almost, I think, at one point gonna let them go, but it's the blood that then reminds her of Joel. We get the flashback to him on a porch, and she can't let that go. And even as she's drowning Abby, we get the flashback scenes of Joel on the porch with the guitar, and whether it's him being content in a life after the violence that forces her to do it, or maybe it's just the trauma of seeing him and not being able and knowing that she has Abby killed, but she's still seeing Joel. Like maybe she realizes in that moment it's never going to go away. There's a lot of different ways to interpret it, but she lets Abby and Lev go and just sobs in the ocean and holding what remains of her fingers.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough.
It is, especially it's just to go all that way and then I suppose she saved their lives, so there's that to show for it. But she's blown up her own life in the meantime because when she returns to the farm, Dina and JJ aren't there anymore. And all of their stuff is gone except her guitar, of course, is still there, but she can't even play it because her fingers are so mutilated. It's good God, this game is so hard. It just eats at you and eats at you, just like revenge eats at Ellie and Abby. They just can't stop. And it's really hard to watch. And at a certain point, I think as players, you're meant to feel really frustrated with the characters because you're this is not in your best interest. Stop doing this. But you're forced to play as them. So you're forced to live through these experiences as them. It's unrelenting.
Yeah. And so we've tried to play the guitar, can't. And of course, it takes us back to the scene where she walks upon Joel playing a guitar on his porch. And we come to realize that this is the night of the kiss in the barn. It's the encounter with Seth. It's her telling him off in front of everyone. And she goes to talk it out, perhaps, I don't know, with a thought to apologize. And they get into it. Joel, I think, goes into default father mode of just talking about Dina, saying that she'd be lucky to have you. And Ellie can't stomach the normal conversation because it's still unaddressed. Yeah, he's talked about it, but he hasn't apologized. And she has an outburst. She says that she was meant to die. That was her purpose. And he took it from her. And he said that even if the Lord were to give him another chance at it, he would do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
They're just never going to be on the same page about this. That's the thing, right? Like, in Joel's mind, she was a kid and he was rescuing her and saving her from dying. And obviously, with the other side benefit of that's his daughter at this point, and he's saving her and he is able to build a life with her. In her mind, he's taking away her agency. He's taking away the entire reason for the journey. And on top of that, I can't help but think she also is thinking of like all these other people who are constantly still in danger, who are always going to be in danger because of you and because of me and because you took me away from helping them. Because you know, like she's also at an age where you have to imagine she's like, well, she's playing the what if game. Well, if they had, you know, killed me and developed a vaccine, and if that vaccine had been super successful and cured everyone, right? Like she is very much living by the world of if you hadn't saved me, the world would be a great place now. And we don't know that that's true. Certainly we could maybe say it would be, but we don't know, and neither does Joel and neither does Ellie. And so like it's hard because we both you don't come down on one side of this argument. I think it's like it's very morally gray. Like you see both sides. Doesn't mean Ellie isn't justified in being angry. Doesn't mean Joel shouldn't apologize. He should. But he's not going to because he's Joel and that's who the character is.
Yeah. It's also I think it's a way of saying like this is the reality you've got to comprehend, like you've got to grapple with. And I think it gets them to a very kind of emotionally mature way of dealing with it, in that Ellie says, well, I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. To which Joel is devastated by. And she offers almost like an olive branch shortly after, and she says, but I would like to try. This is the point where I have to check out because it's like emotions. I'm like, everything just at this point, I'm just like, the controller gets thrown away and I just sit there and I just start like just sobbing to myself because it's at this point, it's like you come to realize that this is why she is so fueled by revenge. It's because again, something has been taken from her, and it's that promise of perhaps her and Joel could have gone back to how things were. Things could have got so much better than what they were, and that's been taken away from her. And that she loved Joel, and it didn't end on such a sour note as we thought it did. It didn't end with her and him bickering and not bickering, but like having a profound disagreement about things. It ended with them wanting to make amends with each other.
Yeah. And his death obviously cuts that off. It cuts off any possibility of having the time to work through this disagreement, this huge boulder in the way of their relationship. And every subsequent person that's killed just like furthers that revenge. It's another notch in the column of, well, this is why Abby deserves to die. This is why Ellie deserves to die, because you're cutting off relationships. You're killing people. Like these people have families and friends and like, you know, people that care about them. And it's so hard because like I said, I don't understand playing this game fully through and being like, fuck Abby and Ellie is the best. Like it just, they're one and the same. They're motivated very similarly. And that's a reason why they go up against each other for so much of this, is because neither one of them can stop, because both of them feel justified in their actions. And they both kind of are. Like, you know, it's a cycle of vengeance that really doesn't end until both of them agree it's over. And it takes a lot to get to that point. Yeah. No, the flashback is intended to break our hearts, and it did. You know, they're like, let's just dig the knife in just a wee bit further.
Just a wee bit. And so we get our parting shot. We get Ellie reconciling that. coming to realize that she's been fundamentally changed by this pursuit of revenge. And she places the guitar down. She almost closes that chapter of her life, and we see her walking away from this home that she once had. And we cut to the credits, and it leaves us with a lot of questions of where did she go? Had she been back with Dina? Had she reconciled? What is going to come later? But it's a great ending. It's just a nice, thoughtful way of really kind of reflecting on the theme and just letting it sit and rest and let you think on it on your own time, I think. I love it. I love it so much. And it's every time I play through and I get to it, it knocks me for 6. And I then get that itch once more to play it again because I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah.
So
It's
good.
really good. It's really, really good. And I can't wait to see all of this on our TV screens. Obviously, some of it we'll have to wait quite a while for, but to know that some of it is in the very near future is so exciting.
Indeed. I think at quite a hefty long podcast, I think we may have covered pretty much everything. Is there anything else, Jess, that you wanted to get into?
No, I think we'll probably talk more next time in terms, we'll talk about the trailer and what we expect of the show, maybe some of the changes they might look to make in adapting a video game to a show. And yeah, we could talk more about some themes and stuff if we want to next time, just because we've run a little long on recapping, but I'm really excited. I have so much faith that they are going to do a really great job with this. So I can't wait. I can't wait to be tortured every Sunday. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Okay, well, that's all we've got time for you now. But before we fully wrap up, should we end with a bit of Will Livingston to bring the mood up?
Please.
Why didn't Naughty Dog give you a rowboat for flooded Seattle?
Why?
Because it would have been awful.
Oh, or
that's all we got for you. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.